Yeah, g'day everyone, listeners, Esky fans, football fans and the like. Welcome to the 2025 On the Esky coverage live. Watching here, it's Friday morning. Down here in Australia, it's Thursday evening over in the US of A. The NFL draft is about to kick off live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Lots of fans out and about, plenty of cheeseheads in the crowd. And the first pick, the Tennessee Titans, are about to be on the clock. A lot of people have Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans. It's just about unbackable, but we'll see how it all unfolds in the next few minutes and then watch the first round as it all comes to fruition. We think maybe the first four picks are a lock, but you never know here in the NFL draft. On my left, I've got Sean, regular on the Esky contributor, and on my right, welcome back. Been gallivanting around the world, really, over the last couple of years. Good mate of ours, Chris Pappas. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Very happy to be here on the Esky with you guys. Been sailing around the Caribbean the last couple of months, years, however long it has been. So can't complain about that. And the best thing about being over that side of the world is I don't have to wake up at Sparrow's Crack to see a game of footy. They're on a reasonable time. So that's the best thing about being over in the Caribbean. Reasonable time footy.
So not the beaches, not the beautiful people everywhere, the music, the food, being in a nice time zone to watch the NFL. That's the highlight of your last few years.
Life is about priorities, I think, and it's important to know what yours are.
I like it. So Chris is back down under, back here in a relatively sunny Canberra. We're coming over from Green Bay. The weather's starting to turn. It's starting to look a little bit fall-ish over there. A little bit springish, I should say, over there. Going into their summer. Things starting to heat up over there. Things starting to cool down over here. And the commissioner, Roger Goodell, is up there. So we will have the Tennessee Titans on the clock relatively soon. Hey, yep. What excites you, Chris, about this draft? Anything that in particular, any position, any teams, anything that comes to mind that you're excited for?
Well, first thing I'm seeing is you're saying it's warming up over there, but the outfits that all these first day draft picks have got have been insane. The suits, the fits, looking good there. If only I had half the fashion sense as these fellas, and maybe 10% of the money would be good too. Yeah, I'm really keen to see what happens with the first round wide receivers. Obviously biased because I love playing offense back in the day when we were playing, but there's only a handful of them. And each and every pick has had such a wide range of reports. You've got some people like Ted McMillan, how there's teams that are saying, if we were up higher, we wouldn't let him get out of the top 10. And then there are other teams like going, no, I wouldn't look at him at all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
For the value of a first rounder. So I really want to see how that plays out. I love Matthew Golden, another speed demon. Reminds you of this year's Xavier Worthy. So there's a lot of stud D-line, edge rushers, all that sort of stuff. But I think that there's going to be some interesting competition at the wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver, always fun. Usually see a few go in the first round, and definitely in the last few years, seeing plenty of talent come out of the first round and being able to produce straight away in the NFL. Malik Neighbours and Brian Thomas come to mind last year. Shauno, how are you going? What are you excited for to see here in the first round of the NFL draft?
I'm good and probably excited for some movement. First time, I think, ever that they've got to draft day and they're 1 through 32 as it was post-Super Bowl. So that is a first. So I'm assuming there's going to be some moves, some interesting plays for quarterbacks. I think the main thing, and Pappas kind of touched on it as well, was the potential for some of these guys to have different grades. Like people are like, hey, we're hot on him, we're not hot on him. There's been a lot of talk about there's not a lot of superstars in this draft. There's a lot of starters. You know, the meaty bit in the middle is where you'll get your value. So it'll be interesting to see how they value these guys. And I think there could be a lot of potentially surprise picks in the 32, probably towards the end, but the back end of the first round, where guys just like, your second round, or I didn't even have him in my top 50 kind of thing, might slide in because he's just favoured more than other guys. So, yeah, I think that'll be the interesting part to see how that plays out with what we see in the, say, back end of the first round.
So potentially some movement. I think I agree 100%, and I think the mid part of this first round is going to be really spicy. I think 1 through 4, maybe even 1 through 5, is pretty much going to unfold as expected. I think we're about to see Cam Ward get read out for the Tennessee Titans,
think so.
followed by Travis Hunter, followed by Abdul Carter, followed by Will Campbell, and then it starts to maybe get a little bit interesting at Jacksonville. Do they go Mason Graham, big dominant inside defender from Michigan, or do they take maybe someone that most people are really intrigued to see how high can he go in Ashton Genty? Broke all kinds of records last year as a running back out at Boise State. A lot of people have question marks around his height. A few people have question marks. Well, he did it in the Mountain West. Could he do it in the SEC? Could he do it in the Big 12?
Do you know the highest ranking rush defense that he versed? Because it was up there.
Who was it?
I don't know who the top was, but I knew it was in the
played
90s
Oregon.
and the hundreds. Every single rush defense that the Boise State played was utter trash.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see whether teams actually think that's a right fit for the NFL. Like, the dude's obviously a beast.
Yep.
Your eyes don't lie, but how will it translate to the NFL when you're playing pro defenses, and where he goes will make a massive difference if he's versing, if he goes to a division that is notable for its defenses. Actually, Jacksonville might make a lot of sense. The South there doesn't do too much of anything, offense or defense. So
It might be fine.
True that.
maybe that is something their general manager is thinking about, because he could be dominant there.
I've got his game log here from last year and just put up absolute video game numbers throughout. Had that 267-yard, 6-touchdown game against Georgia Southern to start off, and then regularly was putting up 203 touchdowns plus.
Yeah. So
The game that probably stands out is the playoff game against Penn State, where he rushed 30 times and kept to 104 yards, averaged 3.5 when he was normally running at about 6 yards per carry. That's maybe a better look at a more NFL pro type defense.
Still a decent game.
Still 100
well,
Still a
I think
decent game.
Oregon down the bottom there is probably the only other one in that list.
25 for
but he was
192 and
pretty
3.
good in that game.
Yeah. So I think we see him definitely go in the top 10. Does he sneak into the top 5? It might be a bit of a stretch. Yeah.
If it's not going to be Jaguars, Raiders seem the next obvious
Raiders,
pick
Bears,
for him.
yeah.
Bears would be good, good for Genty. They just improved their offensive line
Rumors
in the
are
offseason.
they're very hot on him as well.
Yeah.
So whether they move up, so again, talking about moves, whether they need to move up, because there's been talk about Raiders and Jets potentially also needing backs, with the Jets maybe moving on from theirs, so making their guys available.
Yeah.
There's lots of rumors. There's been rumors about Pickens as well, and now talking about guys on the move. Kirk Cousins is out there too. So lots of guys could potentially be involved in picks. We'll have to see.
I wanted to ask you about Kirk Cousins there. So obviously got a massive deal to go over to Atlanta. Then they our biggest surprise early last year was them then drafting Michael Penix in the top 10. Cousins pretty ordinary season last year by his standards.
Coming off of Achilles though.
Yeah, and that is true. That is true. Do you see them making a move with Captain Kirk and where, potentially where?
I think they'll try to, because they tried during free agency. I think they've said they'll eat some of that contract as well to try and make a deal more pleasable. But having said that, there's still a lot there, and what the value is and whether it happens or not, it could just end up being the high-priced backup for Penix going forward.
A lot of money to pay back up, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I think that structure of the contract really hurts him if they're wanting to move
Yeah, it's all
on.
guaranteed. So.
Yeah.
Steelers make the most obvious sense
There's
in
that
terms
too.
of the opportunity. They've got a need of quarterback, unless Mason Rudolph's your guy. But he doesn't strike me as a player, like a Steelers player. You know those teams that have a sort of brand? Steelers don't
Like
seem
Rodgers makes
Rodgers makes more
logical
sense
fit there.
that could
at the
certainly
Steelers
happen.
than a Kirk Cousins.
So the other one, we've got the number 9 jersey in the background there. It's the Saints. Saints make a lot of sense because of Derek Carr with the shoulder at the moment. They're not sure if he'll be ready for the season or if he'll play this year. And, I don't think they really want to go into the season with Rattler. is the only QB on the roster.
We'll see what happens because they're at pick. I believe they're at pick 9.
Yes.
We'll see what happens with Shedeur Sanders, one of the most talked about players for this draft. If the Saints go Shedeur at 9, that would be very telling because
he could go anywhere from 2 all the way to someone trades in at 32. So
He could fall out of the first
yeah,
round.
Yeah.
the last couple of days there's been talk of him not getting drafted at all. It has been one of the most polarized.
First round.
Round. Yes, of course. But if you've seen the odds on who would be the first overall pick on Polymarket, back in August last year, he was
him.
first.
Yeah.
He was first. I've never seen a player's draft stock fall so significantly for a very talented player.
Yep.
Why do we think the stock's fallen so much? What are the question marks? We've just lost our feed. That's all right. We'll talk about Shedeur Sanders.
Well, it's certainly not tariffs, but the stock has been dropping like a rock. I think that some of the things that you spoke about previously were like the flags, and I think that those sorts of things have affected him quite a lot. Maybe he's come across too arrogant in some interviews. I think that he sort of broached the line of what's healthy ego versus just a showboat.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from the Coach Prime mentality. You get it.
He's the son of primetime, the king of showboating.
But now I think people want to see it first.
I think there's also last year's draft class was just all time. So there's that comparison for recency bias as well because you go, what is that? This QB's fit into that class, and you'd say a lot of those guys you'd take over these guys as well. So let's talk about Cam Ward. He has just been selected. We'll talk about that quarterback. Let's put his numbers up on the – whoops. Nope. Where did my numbers go? They should still be there.
There he is. Go. He's coming up. Cam Ward, 6'2".
There we go.
220, let's call it.
He was 223 at his pro day, so a bit more up from his combine numbers.
Which is 219.
219. So, around that 220 mark is what he'll weigh in as. He is 23 in May. So he had those 2 years at Ward, and then 2 at Washington State with the following year at Miami. So he's a 5-year starter. He's a senior. And he had that first season, of course, shortened by COVID. One of the last kind of quarterbacks that got impacted by COVID would be him and Sanders. He did declare for last year's draft, went back, and it was probably worth it because he ended up 4th in Heisman voting.
Yeah, good idea.
Had 158 to 37 touchdowns to intercepts over his career with 20 rushing touchdowns in total. So some notes on him, not really a runner. I thought he had a slightly hitchy wind-up, but it's not with some sidearm. But that's kind of where the Caleb Williams comparisons come from, as in that he plays a bit of hero ball, as Williams did. But I think it's probably unfair on him. He's not really that kind of quarterback that Williams was. Doesn't look the biggest. He reminds me a bit of Tua a bit with his size. He's not really a runner. Just doesn't display that elite speed, as I said. But when things break down, he does try to find more an open receiver than pull it down and try and run. I think he's got enough arm strength, but he maybe lacks the drive you hope for on some of those deeper balls. And what was interesting is a lot of stuff was to the sidelines, not a lot over the middle. So a lot of his plays, all out of shotgun. Nearly every college QB plays 100% out of shotgun. And their scheme was a lot to the outside than in. Ooh, that's a big one. Finish up there. I think it's interesting. I'm kind of interested to see where he'll go and how he plays. But I guess against some of those better teams, there's a bit of struggle there. I'm a little bit concerned where he fits because, again, using that comparison to last year's draft, I'd have him probably as a coin flip with Penix. As in, I think the other 3 would go ahead of him, and then I'd get to Cam Ward and Penix and go, or do I like the arm talent or the injury history, or do I like Ward and I'd coin flip it there? So I kind of feel like
last year you still got him going top 10.
Yeah, he's got in the top 10, but he's probably not, that elite first one quarterback.
He's Daniels or Caleb.
No, exactly. He doesn't have quite the elite first round, but he's the best quarterback in this draft.
He kind of reminds me of a very young Russell Wilson.
Oh,
Russ had a great deep ball from college. That's the only thing that Cam Ward doesn't have here.
He's a bit bigger than Russ.
Yeah, Russ was slightly a better mover, I think, as well.
Younger. In his
as he's in his heyday, yes.
If you watch his last year, though, compared to Russ's last year at college, he does some pretty similar things that were really, really interesting as he's moving around the pocket. His escapability is great, but also the presence to still keep eyes downfield. And that's what Russ was doing really, really well early on in his career.
Yeah, that's a great point that you make there, Pappy, about the escapability. Because, like you said, he's not really a true runner in the sense that he's not taking it out of the shotgun and just going for runs, but his ability to get out of the pocket and evade sacks. The amount of highlights that I've seen where he's ducking under a defender or taking on a defender and then delivering a good shot down the field. That's going to be really important because he's likely to have a fair bit of pressure in his face this year, you'd think.
Yep. Tennessee's O-line doesn't look great on paper. It wasn't great last year, and I don't think they did too much to improve it.
No, they added Tyler Lockett yesterday. That's probably it. Their best players are on other teams now, so we'll see. Do you want to talk about Jags? Jags have moved up into two spots. Massive. I think we were talking a little bit beforehand that there's been a lot of rumors about Browns wanting to go backwards and try to pick up capital potentially for next year's draft, considering their quarterback situation. So they have moved back to 5. So what did they give up, Peppy?
So Browns are trading the number 2 overall pick, a 4th round and a 6th round to the Jaguars. The Jaguars come up with the 5th overall pick, 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick and their 2026 first round pick.
That's the big one.
That's a big kicker.
So whoever the Jags are after here, you would think probably Travis Hunter.
I think Hunter makes the most sense because I think they were saying pre-show that they're 26th in offense and 27th in defense. How do you fix both sides of the ball? If you're going to trade away this value, you pick Travis Hunter. So,
do you think he's going to play both ways in the NFL? And how do you see that playing out?
I think the Jags would in this case because, like I just said, it makes a lot of sense for that. He said he wants to do it. I think he can find a role. I think primarily he's receiver 1 because that's his better position.
Yeah.
And then 2, you can rotate him in as a corner. Like I don't think he has to play every single defensive snap, but you can put him as your CB2, for example, or you can run him in on nickel situations. Like you can get him plays on defense.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if you want 100% him to be playing both ways from day dot.
Agree 100%. Pappy, how do you see it happening?
I think we will see him sparingly on defense.
Yep.
I know that Travis Hunter wants to play both ways. He likes it and he's so darn good at it. But when you're coming to the next level at the NFL, every person has a role. And when you're taking the extra miles on your body, taking hits and all of that, NFL players are built different to college. Like, you're not going to be able to sustain the same level playing both ways.
And don't forget, he's 6 foot and 188 pounds. Like he's a lean dude. He's not.
There's big questions around his weight.
He's not a massive. He's not like a traditional size for a corner, and he's probably undersized what you compare for true number 1 wide receiver.
He can still play, but is it worth the investment from the Jags, if it is Travis Hunter that they take, to put him on the field?
Especially on defense, yes.
I agree. I think that
falls out of his hands.
And just the fact that you look at history, you just don't see it.
Yeah.
So he's a generational talent, don't get me wrong, but there's a reason why we see trends and we see things play out.
Roger's out.
Mind you, if it is Travis Hunter, their offense, if they can keep Trevor Lawrence
healthy,
safe,
sexy.
It's going to be exciting to see.
They've still got Davis there, don't they? So they'll have the 2 big outs, and then Hunter can play all through the middle if that is the pick.
All right,
let's have a look. They may have just reshaped their offense in 2 years' draft classes, potentially with great success. Not many teams can say they do that.
Well, they need to get some return on Travis before he gets too old and out of his window.
Yeah, that's the truth.
All right, Roger's up there. They're about to read the pick. We've jumped the gun. We're assuming they've traded up to get Travis Hunter. Let's see how it all plays out. Of course, we're watching with no sound, so we've just got to kind of go the lip reading here with Roger Goodell, and then we see the name come up on the screen as they come out. Okay.
Here we go.
I've got their depth chart here. Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, obviously, backed up by Nick Mullins. Running backs, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby. Receiver room, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, Diami Brown.
As well.
Brenton Strange at tight end. On the defensive side of the ball, Josh Hines Allen, Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd. Secondary probably could use a little bit of help looking at some of the name value there.
They do love picking defensive players earlier, the Jags. That is historically they've done that. But
yeah, Trayvon Walker a couple of years ago.
Again, I don't think you'd move up that far in to do that currently. Like for a trade, like you'll get a good defensive player at 5, whereas you won't get Hunter.
Hunter would make it to 5.
Yeah,
exactly. He's one of the only people that I'd say is just like truly special out of this class.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's maybe the most interesting guy to talk about in this class.
Yes.
In fact, I say maybe. I think he is the most interesting guy to talk about in this class.
If the Will Levis experiment had have worked out for the Titans, I don't think they'd be taking Cam Ward here. Well, I think that would make sense. You'd go Travis.
You take
I think
the best
he's number
player in
1.
college football.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Will Levis ends up is also an interesting take now that they've got their quarterback.
Yep.
Whether someone will be ringing up and say, "Hey, we want him."
Yeah, he could be a good little bridge. All right, so it is confirmed.
Yes.
Travis Hunter there with mum, dad.
As
He's
expected.
wearing a pink number there, as expected. Shauno, you've got the numbers there for the Heisman winner, Travis Hunter. Run us through it.
Yeah, so 6 foot tall, as I said, 188. So he won the Heisman Trophy 2024. He was the second defensive player to ever do that. Got to remember, he did miss time in 2002 and 2003 with injury.
22, 23.
Yes. I said 22.
I don't think he was born then.
Oh, did I got 02. All right, my bad.
That's all, easy mistake to make.
Yeah. So in addition, he was the first player in college football history to win the Chuck Bucknuck Award. I think, however you say that, as the nation's top defensive player.
I'm going to say Bednarik.
Bednarik, yeah. So he won the nation's best defensive player and wide receiver last year. Yeah. So let's talk wide receiver first. He was my number 1 in this class. What I will say is I feel like he's very similar to Devontae Smith from Eagles. Has about the same sort of build and size.
Maybe a touch bigger.
I think they're coming out of college around exactly the same. So it's very interesting. Best routes, hands, separation, speed, all of it. He was by far the best out of everyone. He's just so talented. He was so much better talented than anyone he played against. He high ball points the ball really well, goes for the contested ball, good vision, and he has room for that big plays afterward, and can run away from the D. So he shows the speed. Like he didn't run at 40, didn't have time at all, but he shows
didn't need to.
Yeah, didn't need to. He shows the speed that he can be very good. He's probably not as physical as you'd want compared to some of the other. So take like a Chaser or Jefferson for a comparison, but that's probably a size thing. And on this team, he won't need to win outside because you'll have those 2 big guys, and he can just be a menace inside. I think is where he'll play. For CB though, if we're going to talk corner, he's definitely a little leaner compared to the other corners coming out. But I think the big thing is for me, he's not a natural corner. He just doesn't look like he's a natural corner compared to the others. And I think he just wins purely on talent. He's just so much more talented than anyone else that he just wins. For me, I consider him probably the 3rd best corner in this class, purely on talent.
Behind
Johnson and Barron.
Yep.
But I kind of would like... if you're going to keep him there, you got to teach him because that's the thing. He doesn't have a clean back pedal. He kind of leans in like... freelances a bit. He's not a complete corner. He's way better wide receiver coming out, so he's pro-ready wide receiver. Corner, you'd want to teach him and get him to grow if you want to play him there, as we were just discussing about, because I think he's going to have a lot of growth potentially to do on that side. But he has the talent. There's no doubt there's the talent there. And, of course, in college he won a bunch purely on talent and didn't get targeted a lot. So what was interesting, my fun on that, they didn't get involved too much in the run game for making tackles
defensively.
You got to make some business decisions occasionally.
Yeah, he only made 36 tackles combined in the whole 2024 season. But yeah, in terms of his pass defense, 4 picks, 11 passes defended for a guy playing both ways. Pretty impressive numbers. Yeah. The word that I had that I thought most described him, springy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if he's on offense or defense, when the ball's coming in, he has the ability to spring up and, like you said, high point the ball.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, it's him coming down with it. Doesn't matter if he's running towards the end zone or the other way. I like this. It's an aggressive move from Jacksonville.
Yep.
But yeah, I think going up and, giving away a little bit of capital in next year to invest in this offense, which on paper really should be one of the better offenses in the NFL.
Agree. And we talked about it, the starters versus superstars kind of thing. There's not a lot of superstars. Hunter was one of those.
Yeah, he's a superstar.
So if you want to spend all your draft capital this year early, get the best player, the biggest superstar in the draft, and walk away happy.
And you mentioned something about the window with Trevor Lawrence. Now is the time.
Yeah.
You're getting to the period of what to do with Trevor Lawrence, whether you
he's in his second big contract.
They extended him. Sorry,
so he's off his rookie contract. He's in his second year, I think, now of that a big extended contract. So,
but now is the time. If you believe in Trevor Lawrence, now's the time to make a move. If you don't do it this year or even next, I'd give him another year. That's when you start looking to move him on, like teams did with Kirk Cousins in Washington. They'd had him for a while.
28 now, I think.
You knew what you're going to get from him. It was good, but not going to elevate you to the next level. Now's the time to go all in, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens. I love the part about the draft night when you're seeing the players come out, and Travis Hunter just looks so pumped. He's amped. He's dancing on stage. You saw the Jags, their war room there, having a look at the coach get excited. Their new coach wanted to bring him down to Duval.
I think you did a better job of that than he did.
Mate, Siri could do a better job than that first press conference, but it's all semantics now. He's got a stud, and I hope that the South is going to see a lot more exciting football with the Jags now making some moves.
Mm-hmm. Hey Siri, say Duval.
Aired you.
She doesn't. Yeah, she's not even listening.
She's seen the clip from the press conference. Is like, I'm not putting my hat in the ring.
She's like, that's about as good. All right, so New York Giants now at 3. I was about to ask some questions. Well, do they still take the guy that we had going 3? Just it's Abdul Carter.
Yep.
What are our thoughts here? The trade didn't play into things too much. They were probably going to be taking him regardless.
Yep.
What's our thoughts?
Yeah, well, they're 6'3", 250, prototypical size for an outside linebacker. I think, he played in 11, Penn State. Micah Parsons comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's the type of player you're hoping to get. I'm not sure he has that elite get off and like elite speed to the corner like Parsons has, or like as a Von Miller comparison for a guy that went, this early. In the draft, Von went 3, I think, for Denver from memory. So that's probably my biggest question mark. Outside of that, he did have 12 sacks last season, 4.5 this season before, and 6.5 the year before that. There was a story about beating up a tow driver in the off-season, so that was floating around, and he also had the stress fracture in the foot from the combine that needed addressing, but everything should be fine. He didn't work out, though, because of a shoulder injury.
Yeah, so, are you worried about so that's 2 injuries leading into it, the stressy in the foot and the shoulder? Outside
of that, he's played full seasons without any issue. So I think he's probably going to be okay. And the things that are not, it's not an ACL, it's not Achilles, a lot of things that would get me significantly worried. What I do like about him, he's got that prototypical size. He played a lot of 2-point, so he doesn't come out of 3-point stance. So again, very traditional outside linebacker. Which fits with the Giants' kind of scheme. He covers ground really quickly. He does look fast. He drops into coverage. He has great hand fighting. He pushes the pocket. He's very strong for, at 6'3", 250. He makes a lot of good reads. He's really involved in the run game. So, he can definitely get off blocks there and make a lot of tackles. And like I said, I'm just not sure if he has the elite speed to hit the corner and to be, big double-digit sack guy throughout the season. Time will tell on that. But I think the complete game and stuff will work very well for the Giants. What's interesting for the Giants is they made a similar pick 2 years ago with, and I can't say his last name. What's their outside linebacker's name? They picked him like 14 or something.
Oh, that's the long Nigerian last name.
Yes.
It's tough to pronounce properly, isn't it?
In 2022?
Let's go 2022.
I'll have a look.
The Giants' defense has gotten a little sneaky good over the last couple of years.
Kayvon Thibodeau?
Yeah, that'll be the one. So who's, again, very similar sort of size, maybe slightly more weight, plays that kind of position, had a down year last year because of injury, but he had, I think, this doesn't have his stats right. He had 6.5 sacks last year and 11.5 the year before, but he was hurt a lot last year. So I'm hoping this is not a direct replacement, and now he's available. But maybe they've got Batman and Robin here.
Yeah, it could do.
So I think for Giants, that's a deadly pass rush when healthy.
How much do you think teams are looking to make their own identity or copy strategies that have worked for other teams?
Bit of everything.
Yeah, they call it a copycat league, but then there's definitely patterns that you see that teams say, well, it might be a copycat league, but we do our own shit. Like Green Bay fan here, very rarely do they take offensive skill positions in the first round.
Hate quarterbacks.
So you see that. You see teams that are known for picking defenders early on, and you see it. But I don't know. I don't know how much team identity sort of plays into it, and where the Steel City we play defense. I think they just take we're taking the best player that's available to us at this time.
That might
that fits our scheme.
It might come more into play in rounds 3 to 5, perhaps, of like where the identity sits.
Yeah, I reckon that's a good point there, because in the first round, I think it's probably a bit more apparent kind of who you want. Whereas once you get 3, 4, 5, it's there's so much more dice rolls. I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot more movement, a lot more trades that happen throughout there as well. So you kind of pick and choose a little bit better. And that also goes with your draft board. Like if you've got a guy that you've red flagged for whatever reason, he might not be on your board, but he might be on someone else's, and that changes it up. Whereas the first 32 is pretty standard. Like those 32 guys are going to get picked regardless, and it's just kind of fit. You kind of work out, well, what's the best player available for me, and then does he have the right sort of fit?
Yeah.
So like for a team like the Pats, they might go, Sanders is the best player on my draft, but hey, we've already drafted a quarterback last year. Like, we're not doing that again. We've got to protect our quarterback.
Of course.
Yeah. So, that might lead to the Campbell conversation as well.
Yeah, maybe the best offensive tackle in college football last year, but they haven't read it, so we'll see in just a second. I think most people have got Will Campbell going to the Patriots.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just scooch back to the Giants and talk about their front seven, because we mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau. They've also brought in Brian Burns last season, and they've got one of the best nose tackles in the league in Sexy Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
You bring in Abdul Carter into that front seven, that might be one of the best front sevens getting around in the league.
Yeah, well, you think of the Giants and, again, on Sanders, like they could use a quarterback, but I think they've built this year very much to let's reset and see what next year's draft class looks like.
Yep.
We've got 2 veteran quarterbacks.
Yep.
They can fight over that position all year.
Yep.
Let's load up on the defensive side, and then let's see where we finished last year, and we'll be in that QB class. The prize gem, of course, is another Manning. You kind of look at that class, and that there's a few other quarterbacks in there that are already some talk that would be better than these guys coming out in this class. So you kind of reset and go, hey, we'll see. We'll probably get another top 5 pick, and then we'll try again next year.
Hey, if you start Jameis Winston, you'll probably be in the top 5.
Yeah.
He is my favourite quarterback in the league.
Is he your favourite player?
He's one of my favourite humans. But I also don't ever want to see him playing quarterback for my team.
A little backhanded compliment there for him.
Yeah. He's just a fun guy. He is my number one celebrity. If I could have a dinner conversation with, it's going to be a good time. Yeah. But with the Mannings do have a history of talking to teams in advance and making their intentions known.
Yeah.
If you go back to the 2001 draft, Eli Manning refused to play for the Chargers if they took him with the number 1 overall pick.
Well, we're talking about the Browns there, who have just loaded up with extra first-round picks, so they could potentially move up next year. Manning's the gem in that, but he also he's a junior next year, so he could be like, I don't like any of the teams picking one. I'm going back to college for a senior year.
Hold on.
So he could very well do that too. So you're kind of 50-50. You're essentially buying lottery tickets at this point. It's like, hopefully he'll be in that lottery next year. If not, let's try the one after it. But time will time.
Their defense is stacked, and I heard a take a little while ago now that makes so much sense to me, that if you had Jameis Winston playing quarterback for both teams in a football game, that would be one of the most electrifying games, because he would put his heart, soul, body on the line for whatever team he was playing on the field with.
There'd be 1,000 yards, 11 intercepts, 14 funny comments made to the camera.
Great TV.
Three good post-game interviews.
Great TV.
Well, that Browns Denver game, was it last year or the year before?
You lit it
Yeah,
up.
it was exactly that. They just went back and forth constantly.
All right, Goodell's up there. The Patriots selection is in. We're expecting Will Campbell. Let's see how it all unfolds.
Will Campbell.
Will Campbell,
away he goes.
LSU, wearing a green pinstripe shirt, giving mum and partner there a cuddle. Dad, I think, played a bit of ball himself. Sean, you got the numbers there for us for Will Campbell?
Yeah, 6'6" or a shade under that. He was 317 at his pro day, 319, so a combine, so in that ballpark of almost 320. He did run a 40, 498, which is not bad, a 9.5 broad with a 32 vert. The big concern for everyone in this class was, do they have the right position? And, I put his arm size up there as 32.5. Prototypical is you want the 34-inch arms. Will lead to some questions of long-term, can he be successful as a left tackle, or does he have to switch sides and play right tackle? Mm-hmm. A lot of those guys that maybe don't have that elite reach do end up on the right side. But regardless of that, he's an elite tackle. He has strong hands. He absorbs that initial punch really well. He redirects. You rarely see him struggle one-on-one. And once he gets his hands on you, it's like days over, like the game's over.
Finished.
You're finished on that play. You're not going to get disengaged and get away from him. He has got good feet. He's probably not the nimblest, and he probably didn't have the elitist of kick steps, and you kind of see him struggle a little bit with some of those elite speed rushes. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting, like use a Carter that just went as a comparison. A guy that sort of size that has elite speed. Is those ones he sort of struggles with. Most left tackles do, but that's where you want to see that elite kick step where he can get out and try and get his hands on him and slow him down. I may want him to be a bit more touch physical in the run game. He kind of looks a little lost when he gets to that second level, but he doesn't really have that killer mauler instinct to want to delete a guy once he gets in that second level.
Not quite the Trent Williams mindset.
Yeah, exactly. You want to see, but overall, his technique is really good. Like he's just got solid base, solid anchor, and that's why he's the best tackle in this draft class. Yeah, I do question a little bit on his length and where he will end up long term, but I think for the Pats, they'll take him, slide him into left tackle, and see how well he does.
Pappy, any comments there for Will Campbell?
Will Campbell, the babyface gangster. No, I love this time of year for football fans for so many reasons, and it's the time where everyone has hope. Everyone's seen the changes that they've made on their team, and they're hopeful for the future, unless you're a Browns fan. But the Pats have made some exciting moves. There's a new culture coming back to Pats Nation, and I just want to see this team get a little bit better because they've got talent. Having a new stud lineman, I hope, pays off to protect the quarterback because
they've invested heavily in.
You'll see more exciting footy.
The last few years felt weird with the Patriots just stinking. You kind of like at first you're like, suck shit, like one of us, and now it's kind of like, oh, this is weird. Like I kind of want them to be a little bit better. Someone to maybe challenge the Bills because now it's really just been a handover in that division to Buffalo domination. And look.
No one's competing with them.
They're fun to watch, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They play fun football. But I wouldn't mind seeing someone in that division actually step up and challenge it. We thought it was going to be Miami. And Tua's been hurt a lot. Tyreek Hill had a down season last year. The Rodgers stuff at the Jets obviously didn't play out. So Buffalo have just, cleaned up that division last few years. So good for the AFC East, I think, to have a strong Patriots and Will Campbell blocking for Drake May. They bring in Stephon Diggs. That's all sort of steps in the right direction, at least on the offensive side of the ball.
Better football for everyone is good for everybody.
I didn't mention it. He's RAS there, so his relative athlete score was 9.91. So for a tackle, he's in the top 30, I think, since 1987 is when they did the statistics.
And run us through that. It's like a combined of all their physical measurements.
Exactly. So he worked out, he's got all these measurements. So as a comparison against every other tackle, he ranks like 10 is a perfect score. Yep. And we'll talk about that because there's two guys with 10s in this draft class in the first 32 picks potentially. which have beaten out every player at their position athletically since they've come out. So, you get a high score, you think he's going to be an athletic talent going forward.
Mm-hmm. So, when you have a RAS of 9.91...
you want high nines in the first round when you can.
And then does that make you less concerned that his arm span is an inch too short if his, bench press, 40-time, broad jump, vert jump is all on the high end of the spectrum?
Yes, yeah. And that's why you're confident. He's also 21, like he's young, he's a junior. So
babyface gangster.
There's potentially a lot of growth still to happen there as a player. And there's guys been successful with that arm length in the past. It's not prototypical is the thing, but I think he can be successful going forward.
Technique will come down to whether he has a long career or not.
Yeah.
And if you've got good technique, it'll make it. But Commissioner's back up. The Browns have their selection.
They did pick, so they didn't move down. So they've taken Mason Graham. Very interesting. Let's get Graham's numbers up. I guess it's, again, we talk Batman and Robbins. They've just signed Garrett for a long-term contract.
Yes, a lot of people had Myles Garrett leaving the Browns, and the contract negotiations obviously played out, and he re-signed with on a big deal. Now they bring in a big, strong interior guy, like you say, maybe to be the Robin to Batman. Run us through Mason Graham's numbers.
Yeah, so 6'3.5". He was 306, I think, at his pro day. So he actually put on 10 pounds from combine where he was 296.
Fucking impressive.
Yeah, so whether he leaned up or they told him to bulk up, one of the two. So let's just say he's around that 300 number. Did put 24 reps up on the bench as well. He's a 3-year starter. He had 3.5 sacks last year. He's definitely an inside defensive tackle like we talked. He lines up a lot over guard. There's occasionally on the edge a little bit, but mostly over guard. He does look a little bit small compared to other tackles, and that might also be because he played next to Grant, and we'll talk about Grant probably later as a big nose tackle. But he has an initial punch is really strong. He pushes guards at will. He has elite power in that part. He does lack true explosion to probably be on the edge, so that's going to force him inside. But he's a big problem for guys. He's got a good get off, strong hands, hand fighting, elite leg drive as well. He's doubled a lot, so he has to be accounted for. So I kind of think he profiles as an elite gap filler that could potentially push the pocket and probably lacks that true pass rusher skill set you're looking for to consistently take down the quarterback. But he's aggressive. He's very active in the run game. He's not Aaron Donald. No one is.
Who is, yeah.
But I think he's a huge pain. Like he's going to blow plays up. He's going to be annoying. You're going to have to account for him, as I said. Which means do you double him?
That's the conversation
which
now.
is Myles Garrett's day. Thank you. I'm finally going to have some one-on-one matchups, and that's where I can be successful.
As soon as you said, he got doubled a lot, and we're seeing footage of him breaking through double and triple coverage schemes. It's going to cause a massive headache for offensive lines playing against the Browns, because if you double him, then you're leaving Myles Garrett one-on-one. You can say goodbye to your quarterback, I think. So
pretty much.
I like this pick. He's definitely coming across from a real winning culture. Won the Natty in 2023.
He's a big part of that
with Michigan.
Team.
Yeah,
big part of that
defense was a massive part of it. 108 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, so able to get through into the backfield and take down.
So that's the thing. Like he gets through the line, but he's probably just lacks that elite speed to constantly take the quarterback. He's not going to be.
He's not going to have the high sack number.
Yeah, exactly. Like an Aaron Donald, for example. But he's like I said, going to be a real pain, and I think that it really helps out their defensive line. And another team that probably is like, hey, we'll build on defense. Maybe come back later in this first round. Maybe snag a QB very late, trade back in with their second round picks, or look to next year.
I think there's a big time looking for next year, because that offense on paper is looking pretty ordinary.
Yes.
Their offensive line isn't bad. Joel Bitonio, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin, those guys are pretty good players. But offensive skill players, and obviously the Watson, sort of debacle is looking pretty ordinary on the offensive side of the ball.
Joe Flacco's team, I think, to start the year.
I think.
Could you imagine how old is he going to be next year? I might look that up.
I think he's probably,
He'd
I
be
think
40?
85. But
He's actually 20 years older than Tom Brady.
one of the best stories in football
40
from
on
a
the
couple
dot.
of years ago.
40.
Had everyone rooting for the Browns, not like these paid actors that have been told to go to Green Bay, put on a dog pound shirt and have a bit of hope in your eyes.
That's rent a crowd, is it?
Well, I'm a Chargers fan and they have less fans than us, but the ones that are there for the Browns have to be the most dedicated people. You know, loyalty is high up on their values, but I think it's a really interesting play. I prefer this fit over Abdul Carter for the Browns because you've got another guy, another MG, but you've got an interior guy and Myles Garrett on the outside, as opposed to having two premier outside guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Leaves you wide open in the middle that they would have to fill later on. Raiders up on the clock now.
Here it is. So
It's been telegraphed. They really wanted him, and
Yep.
they've sat put and have made it happen.
So Ashton Genty was talking about him at the very top of the show. One of the most intriguing guys in the draft. Broke all kinds of records in college football. Sean, how do you see him as an athlete?
Yeah, 5'8.5" to 11. I've got the rig on the screen there.
Rig!
The numbers, the 2,600 rush yards last year for 29 touchdowns. He was the Heisman runner-up to Travis Hunter. We talk superstars. He's number 2 for superstars on that list, and you want to see him there. So, as a runner, he has that upright stance, as you know, but he has elite pad level. So that doesn't really matter how he starts. He's pad level. It's very good. He carries his weight really well through his frame. I don't think you'll see much growth in the pros. Like, I don't see he's going to put on much weight at all with that size. He's kind of pro ready. His vision is excellent. He gets the second level consistency with the right gap. His O-line was good. There's a lot of big gaps. So one caveat there. He's a very patient runner. He isn't the shiftiest back to come out, but he wins a lot with his vision. He seems strongest coming off his left foot. So, pushing off left and running to that right side is where a lot of his big runs come from. The big thing, elite body control. That's probably the skill set that he has over everyone else you've ever seen. His body control is amazing and very hard to tackle. Being able to cause his missed tackles, that's his special sauce. The question is going to be in the NFL. There's a lot of missed tackles, a lot of arm tackles in college. You'd see some of those big runs where you'll have 4 guys like miss tackle on him. You're like, in the NFL, I'm pretty sure that first guy is going to get him down.
Yeah.
So you kind of, again, question that. And that probably comes with the question of the competition.
Yeah.
So, his eye line was great. His competition, had big gaps to run through. His competition, probably not that good. And they struggled to tackle him. Maybe led to this all, wild season he had. And he's a bit of a one-year wonder as well, being that one-year season. His top-end speed's probably not elite. I think he's probably a low 4.4 guy. I don't think he's quite 4.5, but maybe he's there. But that's the kind of speed you think. But I think he's got enough to run away from defenses. He'll be fast enough for the NFL. He's got solid hands in the receiving game. He looks like a willing blocker as well, picks up the blitzing. So whoever is playing quarterback for the Raiders, Gino will be happy. I'm just like, who do they get?
Yeah,
Smith.
I had to think about that too.
So I think that's where he goes going forward. So I think he's surprisingly powerful between the tackles at that size, and always falls forward, has a stiff arm, and dominated the lesser competition.
Best dressed so far, I reckon, with the black tux. That's looks real nice. Going to the Raiders, he probably had an inkling, maybe.
They were very hot on him. They talking about it. They wanted to get him, and obviously the draft board fell the way they were hoping. That's
right. Nearly all the mocks that I saw had him going to the Raiders, maybe falling to the Bears, and then in the last week, do the Jags go him? We talk comparisons sometimes, especially for the offensive skill guys. He compared himself to Alvin Kamara. Looking at Kamara, Kamara catches bog balls out of the backfield. You didn't see that from Ashton in college ball, but he may actually even be more of a bull.
I agree.
Than Kamara.
I was going to say Kamara's more of a mover. He has more finesse in his game style than what Genty does. He's definitely more ball, more powerful, and be able to sustain hits and maintain, his feet essentially, and be able to push forward is his strong suit. will that transition to the NFL is the question. We'll see with the Raiders whether that actually transitions and he'll be able to, get hit by the big linebackers, to absorb those punishment and be able to pick up another 3, 4, 5 yards or break one. That's the thing.
The other comparison he had for himself was Saquon.
Yeah.
And, watching the playoffs last year and watching Saquon do what he did and had tweets like, that's going to be me and things like that. I don't know if he's quite Saquon. I don't know if anyone, in recent memory is quite Saquon Barkley, particularly after the 2024 season. Again,
bigger and a better mover. Like I think that's the big thing. There's a lot of those guys are a bit more shifty than Genty is.
Having said that, he's after Saquon the highest running back to go in the last 10 years, going at 6. He's going to be an absolute talent and helping to make running backs great again as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at the structure that he's going to. Going to the Raiders, you've got Seahawks 2.0 there. Pete Carroll's
pretty much.
He's brought in Geno Smith, who had great success, better than anyone expected Geno to have before he went to the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. So I think that the AFC West is going to see a lot of Genty. I think he's going to be put in a position to have the opportunity to be beast mode 2.0. Pete Carroll loves to run the rock, and I think it's a real Pete Carroll pick. I think that there would have been a lot of influence from him. He's a style of player that Pete Carroll likes. He doesn't have as much of the home run hitting ability as Saquon Barkley, but I think that he is a fantastic ground and pound guy that if you're in a 3 and 5, you could run the ball with him and be confident enough that you're going to have a good shot to convert on an inside run. He's got exceptional talent, really patient with his vision, watches blocks. That goes a little bit to his upright running style, but he will be patient and watch the gaps open up for him as the game goes on.
Yeah, that offense starting to look pretty sexy. Obviously, Brock Bowers, incredible rookie season last year.
Yeah.
I wonder if they go out and try and get a receiver to add as well, because their defensive front 7 isn't too bad, led by Max Crosby. They may need to pick someone up in the secondary.
Yeah, secondary. Well, they added Chin, I think, as well. So.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin, Eric Stokes.
Yeah.
They might go offensive line as well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind seeing them with their next pick go receiver.
Well, it would pain me to see the Raiders get better, but I think that this pick will tell you a lot about what they're going to do for this draft. They're going to try and make up ground offensively first, as opposed to defensively, where they do have some superstars like Max Crosby, that is a game wrecker. But you need to be able to keep up with the other teams in that division. Obviously, the Chiefs are still the standard for the AFC West, but the Broncos got a lot better from last year.
Especially down the back end.
Their offense looks really, really tidy. The Chargers made some moves last year. We'll still see what happens with their offense, but they have some players that are capable. You need to keep up with your competition in your own division first. Well, and I think this tells about the identity.
All the other teams play playoffs in that division. So, it's just like, you got to close that ground quickly. Yep.
Arguably the toughest division in football at the moment.
You look at some of the head coaches in the division, you're just like, okay, it's an arms race. And, you're trying to add talent where you can. So, on the offensive side, I think it's a big help. Yeah. What's interesting, I saw they had Mostert there. Which might fit as well as like a RB as your third down running back kind of thing as well.
Yeah, like a real
guy that can catch.
Fast guy. So Raheem Mostert, one of the faster running backs in the league. He's actually a bit older than what you'd think as well. So maybe a little bit of a 1-2 punch there. All right, pick 7 is in. We've seen the second tackle taken in Armand Membau out of Mizzou. Sean's got him up on the screen. Run us through the numbers for big Armand.
Yeah, so 6'4", 332, 6'4" and change, let's say. He did work out, so he did a 4.91 40 with a 9.7 broad with a 34 vort. He is listed as an inside lineman on some places, but he played as right tackle throughout the season. I'm just looking for my notes. Where do I have him as a number 18? So he was a 2-year starter, played a lot as a freshman though, all right tackle. He's big and thick. He might be 15 pounds too heavy for being a tackle,
Too heavy.
Yeah, too heavy. But he's got more guard size. So, that's a question mark of, is he going to be a right guard or a right tackle going forward? I think the hope you're picking him here, he's probably going to be your right tackle going forward. His kick step is probably not the fastest. He's probably leads him a little bit to being a guard. Again, 33.5-inch arms is probably fine. He gets pushed back more than you would like as a right tackle. Much better when he plays in tight. So, either it's a run play or going forward. So, again, leading to some of those talks about being a guard. He plays, I'll just read my notes, his hands. So when he gets his hands on you, he's very strong. He may play a little bit upright and lean a bit too far forward. So he reaches a fair bit too, which causes him to fall forward, to lose his balance and get pulled down. Again, I think it's correctable. Also very correctable if you move him inside to guard, as he won't have that issue as much. He'll have the defender right in front of him. His feet are a bit better and probably a bit more smoother than, say, Booker, who's one of the other guards that was probably going to get picked later, and moves around a bit more. So you can see him pulling and stuff like that as well. So you can use him in that mode too. I kind of think for Jets, try him at right tackle. It would not move him inside.
Yeah, I've got their depth chart here. They drafted a left tackle last year in Olu Fashanu, so I don't think he's going to left tackle. I think he might go to right or maybe even to left guard.
Left guard, yeah, because they did draft
Vera Tucker a couple of seasons ago.
Exactly, is their right guard. So, yeah, I think try him as a right tackle and then see how you go. But he's a big body. He's a big man.
I was wondering what his background was there with mum and dad. I thought Nigerian. It's Cameroonian, hence the sort of French name there. So we've seen in recent years sort of the Nigerian influence in the NFL, big time athlete production out of Nigerian. Usually sons of immigrants, and same thing here with Armand, born in Missouri, played for Mizzou. Brings a bit of Cameroonian flavour into the NFL. I like that you were pretty excited about this pick. I thought him and Will Campbell were probably a step above the other offensive linemen from what I can see.
The best left tackle's gone. The best right tackle is gone now.
Yeah, it's an obvious pick. I mean, these top end round one players, they fit a need, and they're obviously just going to be exceptional talents. But seeing teams invest in the trenches early, I think bodes really, really well. Once you can get away from the perspective of looking at the draft in terms of fantasy points, then you start seeing the benefit of what happens when you build from the trenches. That's your foundation. Yeah. And for a lot of the teams that you might not necessarily be a fan of, it just helps seeing better football.
Yep.
What's the? There's got to be a metaphor of iron sharpens iron or something like that. Is that it?
Literally it. Yep.
Yeah. So you're going to see much more production coming out of these teams, which is more exciting for everybody. And the Jets need to make some wins in this draft. They've obviously pulled in Justin Fields, and he's an incredible talent that I don't think we've gotten to see at his full potential. So let's hope with a new head coach in the Jets, we're going to be able to see some better football. Want to get back to those Mark Sanchez days where the Jets were actually playing
playoffs.
Make an AFC championship.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if you look at all the playoff teams, nearly all of them had good lines on both sides. So you can see, investing in the trenches definitely helps. It's worthwhile.
And seeing some of these international players make it in the NFL is super exciting because we're obviously over here in Australia. We love the game, but it's getting more global. There are more games being played overseas now. There are more international players in the NFL than there ever has been before. And it's just exciting to see because this awesome game is getting more reach around the globe than it ever has before.
Yeah, just to clarify, he's born and bred in the US, but for Cameroonian descent. Yeah.
But it allows their communities to get behind one of their people.
It's awesome. And you think, as soon as you think Cameroon and sport, you think soccer, So now you might see a few sort of people over there thinking, maybe keep an eye on this American football thing. Yeah. Particularly if they're built like him.
He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He is a big dude.
You can chuck him in the goals, I reckon, playing soccer. I don't know if he's playing any other position.
Panthers are on the clock.
Yep.
They're going to be picking very shortly. I've got defensive line, wide receiver, and inside offensive line as well for them. There's been a lot of talk about Walker potentially for them.
Yeah, Jalen Walker comes
I'll be
to mind.
interested to see where he goes or whether he slides because he's a bit of a tweener.
What about wide receiver, T-Mac?
Nah.
Probably
Too
a
early?
slightly
They're going
early.
D-line.
D-line?
Yeah.
I'm putting money on it.
Yeah, whether they go, although want someone bigger like a Williams, or whether they like Green better as an edge, would be interesting.
This mid-edge field starts to become interesting because there's no real now standouts. There's a whole lot of guys that
like
could
James
go.
Pierce is my favourite out of that,
Yeah.
but it's probably a little bit early for him.
Yeah.
Whether we get a run on some of the interior guys, maybe like so when I talk interior guys, I'm talking like Zabel or something like that. Nice more guards, but it's probably
Feels high.
Again, it's
Yeah.
felt high. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what they actually choose here.
Goodell's up
D-line.
there.
I've put the house on it. No,
T-Mac!
T-Mac is
Oh,
gone.
right, okay. I really like T-Mac, wide receiver out of Arizona. Big dude. I think at best he could be like a Mike Evans, Drake London type, big outside receiver. But there might be a few little question marks regarding, again, playing at Arizona, maybe not playing against the creme de la creme every week. But from the footage that I watched, I reckon he's good. And, as a lanky wide receiver, obviously I'm going to be a big fan of him. Shauno, what are the numbers and what did you see out of Tetaroya McMillan?
Yeah, McMillan. So 6'4", 219. The 40 time was the question mark. There was the release of he ran 4.48. There's no video of that ever existing, so I don't think it ever happened.
Deleted the footage.
Like my 40 time.
Yeah. From the note I saw from scouts that were there, it was 4.54, 4.55, and 4.57. So he's probably in that mid 4.5 range. 4.53 is what the official kind of number getting floating around from his pro day. So we'll go with that. Let's say he's a mid 4.5 guy. Not the fastest, of course. Probably at that size, you don't worry too much. But he's going over there to the Panthers, who have a history of drafting wide receivers of late. So
Leggett.
Leggett as well. 26 touchdowns in total. He's got good size and big hands. Got to remember though, he's not Brian Thomas. So as a comparison, he's fast, but he's not that fast. Anything that does like getting his catch radius though, he catches. There's very few drops. His routes are really solid. He's got probably a little rounding. He's not like the quickest, sharpest route runner. Again, probably because of his size. But he does his best work when he goes across the field, taking slants for big gains. Lots of hooks and lots of slants was the game plan. He's pretty good after the catch. He's got that long stride as you'd expect. He's not going to make a lot of guys miss or run over someone, but there's potential there for growth. The one thing I think he needs to add is the contested ball. I didn't see him win enough contested ball. Think to kind of get to that comparison, I'll use Cortland Sutton there as a comparison. He's win contested ball in the red zone consistently will be something he grows. I think he's got a very similar build and athletic profile to T. Higgins.
Yeah. Yep.
So and maybe as a wide receiver too, that's exactly what they've done here. You've got their Hope and Leggett's their Chase and Higgins, McMillan's their Higgins.
I reckon he's better.
Could very well be.
Yeah,
Than
I reckon.
Higgins?
No, than Leggett.
Oh, then Leggett,
Then
yes.
Leggett.
I'd take him over Leggett.
Yeah, he could be a T Higgins or better. From again, it's all the same. I'll just repeat a lot of what you're saying. He doesn't have the high end speed, and athletically, he's not Travis Hunter.
Yep.
But in terms of being a pretty reasonable red zone threat and being able to be a possession dude on top of it,
His body control, especially in contested possessions in the end zone, is where he shone.
Yep.
He was really, really good at that. And he's such a different player than Leggett, which is really, really good for them as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You need the balance of having different styles of play on the offense so that you can go to the situational player that's going to help you out best.
yin and yang, baby. I like the pick. Going into this, obviously no one's Travis Hunter, but I think he was a clear 2 as a wideout.
Well, the Saints pick has come in. I've lost my house. Do we reckon they'd reach for Shador here? Could Shador Sanders go off the board right now?
So this is one of the most interesting picks in the draft. Obviously, a lot of chat around Shador going to New Orleans. I don't think Spencer Rattler is a franchise-type quarterback.
Car injury, etc.
And then a lot of people have Shador really starting to slide down too. So this could be anything.
If he doesn't go here, then it's big slide.
Yeah, because the next few teams have all got their
need QBs.
Their quarterbacks set. Let me get the Saints depth chart up, and if they don't go QB, where else could they go? I think at receiver they're pretty set. I think running back they're set. O-line could maybe use some help.
There's some good tackles on the board.
Yeah, O-line, corner, and D tackle is what I had listed.
The other thing as well and we haven't even mentioned the tight ends just yet. We've got two very strong tight ends available in Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland.
It's a hard position though, tight end, to get some love in the first round.
And do you go at 9?
Yeah, exactly.
I think both those guys are sort of mid first round.
Yeah.
A lot of people have got the Colts taking Tyler Warren. I don't know if either of them are going to sneak up into the top 10. Looking at the depth chart here, I think when we didn't know last year, offensive line was something to add to. They did take Fuanga last year at left tackle. Yep. So maybe if they want a right tackle or an interior guy, they might go along that.
Yeah. So Penning is their right tackle. They haven't extended his rookie contract, and they had Ram something retire as well.
Okay. Oh, Ramchick?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think looking on defense, they took Kool-Aid last year to be one corner, Tyron Matthew, Justin Reed. I don't think we see any secondary. Let's have a look. Tackle.
Yes.
If in doubt, offensive line seems to be a pretty strong trend. Kelvin Banks, Texas Longhorns, goes to the New Orleans Saints with
tackles.
pick 9. And then now we maybe see Shador slide over the next, through the teens, maybe into the 20s.
I don't know if anyone's going to look at Shador until you get to the Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
And if it's not Steelers, second round.
Yeah. Or do we see someone trade up?
Well, there's been talk about Denver's pick at 20 being traded because someone wants to skip the Steelers to get a quarterback. That's a spot. But, I think that 20 spot, if it doesn't happen there, it's going to be 31 or 32. If not, there'll be day 2 picks. Let's find Banks. Can you check his wiki for me?
Yep.
Because he won a lot of awards as a left tackle. So run through his numbers. He's 6'5", 315. He did a full workout, 5'16" in the 40, 8'8" in the broad, and 32 inches in the vert. Not the most impressive numbers, and so he only ended up with an 8.13 RAS. Arm length of 33.5, so pretty good there. He was a 3-year starter at left tackle for Texas. He's a junior. He's got a very thick middle section, so whether he might need to transition some of that weight around, but I think he's okay. 315 is probably fine. May have a better initial kick step and feet than Campbell did, but his hands are nowhere near as strong as his was. He ends up with defenders on his frame a lot because of this, and he does get a little bit grabby, so something technique-wise he's going to need to work on. When a defender moves on, he's caught a bit reaching, so when they kind of get around him, he can reach for him a bit and does fall over a fair bit falling forward. I think he shows good strength and power in the run game. Head-to-head, he rarely loses. He think even with all that, he has the tools you want to look for, to build around, and a lot of that stuff is correctable. Whether he plays left tackle or right tackle is going to be the question with that line. He did win, as I mentioned, a lot of awards there for interior linemen.
Outland Trophy winner, Lombardi Award winner, and Jacobs Blocking Trophy. So 3 awards.
All American as well.
Unanimous.
First team All Sec. So
pretty
that's
good
all
pretty good at football.
Pretty good at football.
A lot of mock drafts had him going in the top 7 picks. So it's pretty cool so that the Saints can, even though it's only a handful of picks later, every single pick in the draft is so important. So having a value pick at 9 there is pretty helpful.
He's how good is this as well? Born in Humble, Texas. The town's called Humble.
Bring him over. Come over a bit closer.
We're just rearranging here. So Chicago is up. And the pick is in.
We're going to announce that?
Where do you see them going with this
They
one?
wanted that running back. And
Yeah, well, they wanted Genty. So.
they wanted offensive tackle, and that's probably just gone. Whether they want some more, probably defense. I think defense at this point now.
I'll throw a tight end in there. Tyler Warren.
Yeah. Tyler
I think
Warren.
is up there. Yes, their D-line needs improvement.
Not a fan of Cole Kmet.
Colcomet's good. He's not Tyler Warren.
He's just getting a little old now too. I think he's in his late 20s.
He's a little old.
Yeah.
It is old in NFL terms at a skill position.
Just wait till I start talking about some of these huge humans having short arms.
Yes, true.
So
And I'm needing to ask the person next to me to pass the salt and pepper. But I see that with the new head coach in town, they'll be going offense to really boost up in the north.
Corner, it's their secondary. You remember the Washington Commanders game?
Tyreke Stevenson.
Will Johnson here or Barron might be a play. They could definitely take the top corner on the board.
Could they go double Johnsons? Because Jalen Johnson on the other side is one of the best corners in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't hate that. Often we see a corner go in the top 10, so this would be the last chance for that to happen. Where else on defense? They've got Montez Sweat as an edge rusher. They brought in Grady Jarrett, former Falcon, there to play in the inside.
Whether they want more help on that D line potentially.
Linebacker
seems all right.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm thinking about what might happen with a lot of these D line. This is such a D line trenches heavy draft that you could get a lot of value, starters value in later rounds, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Because there is such a spread of talent across there, whether more starter quality players at other positions get reached for higher in the draft.
Yeah, agree.
So that's why I think they're going that I'm 0 for 1 for house bets. So I'm going to put another one on Tyler Warren. I've only got one property, so I need to see how we can.
Well, if you only got one, you already lost one.
No, it's double or nothing. Double or nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how this works. Need to improve my record.
Goodell is up there. He's reading out the pick with the 10th pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. The Chicago Bears select. Drum roll, please. It's always hard with no volume, of course.
Goodell's just doing an emotional speech.
I might have preempted here.
Yeah,
We've
Bears
too
fans
early.
in Packers, Steve McMichael.
So rest in peace, Steve McMichael.
Great of the game.
Apologies, listeners. Obviously couldn't hear there. Going to be interesting. You mentioned the edges. We've got 3 pretty good ones sitting there in James Pearce, Mike Green, and Michael Williams.
I like Mike Green.
Do we see one of them go? We've got the 2 corners in Barron and Johnson. We've got
Walker still fighting around. I don't
Tyler
think
Booker
fits for them. Booker's is probably as an inside makes a lot of sense, but they've already invested heavily there. Field defense.
This is probably the first real head scratcher, I reckon.
Well, they do have a number of different holes
running
in the
back
team.
Hampton might be a bit early.
That might be a reach for Hampton,
but if they didn't get Genty, if they really want running back, that's also potential.
I like watching Hampton's film. I just think it's a reach at 10.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's have a look. It seems like
Walter Payton's
50th anniversary Walter Payton selection.
Yep.
They've got through the first 9 picks too quick, then trying to chew some time up.
I think they are.
Loveland's gone.
All right, so Pappy, you are in the right.
Right position, wrong.
We're paying that. We're paying that.
Yeah. I'm paying that.
You got the.
I'm self-adjudicating that as a win.
You got the position right, but we didn't see Tyler Warren go as the first tight end.
I'm surprised about that.
We've seen Michigan Wolverine, Colston Loveland. I like him again. Rangy guy that catches the football. Of course, I'm going to like him.
Yep.
Didn't have the same numbers. Wasn't in the same ballpark as Tyler Warren in terms
Not
of
this last year. So
production, but more consistent over 3 years.
I think that this pick is going to be more about what you know he's capable of, because his 2024 season wasn't as splashy as the season, of course, when Michigan won the national championship. It's going to be the case for a lot of people coming out of Michigan.
I think his athletic profile is just so much better than Warren's. Warren,
You like him, Mel?
Yeah, he's a better mover, he's a better runner. Warren's more, he's a very plodding style, but he is just unreal at boxing out and catching the football. So it just depends on what you like. And if you like him as more of a, that joker type receiver is going to create mismatches, then that's Loveland. He's an oversized wide receiver, really.
Yep.
So 6'6", 248, didn't do a workout because he had the type V AC joint dislocation, which I think needed surgery.
You know what they
memory.
are?
Yeah.
I'll put a little bit of physio chat in
for
there. So top 5, so there's 6, so this is the 5th out of the 6.
Yep.
And these are like car accident AC type injuries.
Yeah, well, it says he required surgery and recovery times 4 to 6 months. So regardless of that, they still picked him 10.
Yep.
He of course missed a couple of games last year through other things. He had 5 touchdowns last year and 4 the year before. 11, I think I said before, in total there over his career. He had surgery on the 29th, so should be good come
29th of March?
Of January, sorry.
Of January.
Yeah, so he should be good for come the like.
He's already
workouts.
3 months post. Yeah, he's going to be fine.
He should be fine. Big frame, looks a little bit lean. Depending how you want to use him, like if he's going to be more a traditional tight end, you probably want him to add 20 pounds, get into that 260 range. But if not, if you're going to play him as a big wide receiver, he's probably okay. He's definitely a better runner and mover than Warren, which as I said before, but he's less impactful. He's not a power type tight end, but he gets down the field. He's good at finding holes and getting open. He works his way open and contested balls against DBs. He's going to win a lot of those because he's so much bigger than them. He's got good hands.
Fast for a tight end over the middle. Does a great job there.
Yeah. Probably not as consistent in the contested as Warren. That's like Warren's bread and butter. That's his special sauce there. But Loveland shows more finesse and then Warren's power. He didn't see as much blocking, a couple chips here and there, but he's not a blocking tight end. He's spread out wide a lot. And, Evan Ingram was the comparison. He gets that.
I like that.
But Evan, I think, was faster. He's a faster type player than Loveland. But I think Loveland's slightly taller than him. So, that's kind of where he fits as another big type receiver that they could add for Williams to potentially throw the ball to.
His 2 weaknesses are going to be those contested catches and run blocking. Run blocking, not his strength, but going to a team like Chicago where they've invested very heavily in the offensive line, maybe you're only going to need a chip out of him if he's lined up in the slot. He rarely will line up on the line, but if all you need from him is a little chip and then a speed mismatch over the middle, he's very good against linebackers. They're not able to keep up with him. You'd have to be a premier coverage linebacker to be able to work around him. Evan Ingram's a good comparison. I've heard a little bit of comparison to Travis Kelce in his ability to have vision, sit in holes, and then use his speed to his advantage when it's required.
A bit probably rangier, like leaner than Kelce. But like you said, at 248, at 6'6", he could throw on 15 pounds, no worries.
It depends on what they want to use him. Like if they want him to get more inline, he probably needs that weight. But if they're going to play him, like, as I said, like a big wide receiver, he's going to be out a little bit, maybe coming off the slot.
A lot like Travis Kelce.
Yeah, a lot like Travis Kelce. Like that's fine at that size, and he's going to be a mismatch for any linebacker out there. So you take that every day of the week.
He's gone to a great offense with a great offensive coordinator as a head coach. So I'd be looking to see some good things out of the Bears offense, and they need it. That division got real good real quick.
We were talking before about the AFC West maybe being the best division in football. I think, and I'm a Packers fan and I'm biased, but I might need to reconsider and say maybe the NFC North is the best division in football.
I would say NFC North.
Division as well.
As a fan of the AFC West, I'd still say it's the North because of what you saw last year.
You had 3 really good teams, and then Chicago showed glimpses. So if Chicago's showing more than glimpses, then fucking
Chicago only dropped off to a certain extent because they had to play the Packers and
But they've got all the
that's true.
They've got all the names now on offense, and they're all guys that are coming into their second years and third years. They're only going to get better, and then now they add this pretty freakish talent in Colston Loveland. I really like it. And a good pick. Obviously, had the position right, and it's caught everyone by surprise in being Loveland over Warren.
I had Tyler Warren.
A lot of people had him top 10.
Colston Loveland.
I just wonder if the lack of true speed is it's causing him maybe to slide a little bit. But Colts more traditional. Colts at 14 still were really hot on tight end, so he may be in that sort of space potentially, but we'll see.
I'd say next ones that I'd be thinking for tight end, you're looking at the Colts. They've shown a need for that, but potentially even Broncos.
Yep.
Could pick up a tight end as well. That's a pretty heavy need for them. Where else? I was a big fan of Tyler Warren. He is a much more traditional player. Will play on the line a lot more. Uses his body to his advantage, and we'll see where he goes.
Yeah, well,
We'll see him in the
Denver at
first round.
20 would be a perfect fit for him because they've got Ingram there. So, Ingram could be your more Joker style, go out and catch passes, and he can be your more inline tight end, and that's your tight end room going forward. So, yeah, it's potential. What do we think, though? 49ers are in. They're going to have their picks shortly. I think trenches probably may make the most sense.
Agreed, trenches.
Yeah, losing
The good tackles are going off the board now, so there's only a handful left.
So you thinking Booker? Are you thinking offensive trenches or defensive?
both.
Yep. Either or.
Because they tried to add the other Bosa brother. Didn't happen. So they definitely want to add, again, something to support Nick there. But they also could protect Purdy more.
Purdy.
Like Williams is not getting any younger.
No.
So
He's also not getting any worse at football,
Well,
but you're 100% right. He'd be on the other side of 35, 36, wouldn't he?
So the problem is the run on left tackles
Yeah.
Zabril,
is gone, really. Like Simmons.
Booker.
So let's have a look at the list here.
Goodell is up there. He's about to announce the pick. Again, this is where it starts to get really interesting because, sort of 1 through 5. Other than that trade, we pretty much had it all. But now
Harley or
we
Simmons
get a lot
is
of
left
sort of picks that could go anyway, like we just saw with the Bears taking.
They did
Colson
lose
Loveland.
a bit of defensive talent, though, in the secondary and at linebacker as well. So,
There we go.
But-
on the edge.
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams.
Out of Georgia, so we may
Go
see a little run start here with the edge pass rushers. Williams, the first to go of the guys in that category below Abdul Carter.
Yep.
Shauno is going to pick up his little slide here. A few tears in his eyes, and well done, young man. You deserve to shed a few, I think, going to one of the most successful franchises in the NFL in the 49ers.
You'll be playing on the other side to Bosa. You'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. What do you got from Mike Williams?
He was 6'5". He was 260 at Combine, 267 at his pro day. He ran a 4.81 in the 40. So it's not too bad. He's 21 in June. So he was a 3-year starter/role guy. He had 14 sacks in total over those 3 years. Unofficially had a 4.75 at his pro day. So he's in that 4.8, 4.7.5 range for his 40. He did play a bit of D-tackle, but mostly defensive end. There's a bit of 2-point, bit of 3-point. He did a lot of everything as you expect for the edge. Great size and great length. 34 and 3/8 for the arm length at 6'5" is pretty good. You will take that. His weight maybe a little bit more outside linebacker size than traditional defensive end. Do they add 15, 20 pounds to try and get him to that 280 range for being like a more traditional defensive end like Nick is? Or do they stick with what they've got? What else have we got here? He does use his length really well. His get off is good. His pass rushing moves are a little bit lacking. I'm probably not seeing the elite speed you'd expect to be a sack monster. He's got a very good bull rush. He's all bull rush really. He didn't really do too many other of his moves, but he has a very strong rush with that. So I think he'd like the athletic profile. I hope to teach him the rest. I do love his effort. He fights through to the whistle. The question is, do you keep him there or do you add, say, 30 pounds and turn him into a defensive tackle, or do you see him where he is as more defensive end? But I think you like what you get and you see him as a bit of a project overall is kind of what I've written.
Oh, you go.
No, I was just thinking there's a couple of picks already that I think are going to be super exciting to watch over the next few years, where you're going to a team that has a stud player in the same position or vicinity as you, whether it's inside or outside on the D line. We've got some audio with the Browns getting their D line sorted, and the 49ers now with Michael Williams and the Bosa, Small Bear, even though he's a big man.
There's
Small bear Bosa.
There's a lot of similarities here with the Browns and the Giants picks, isn't there? With just shoring up your defensive line.
But having other studs that can sort of coach them up, it's like, okay, you got the body, you got some talent. Now let's get you to the next level to become a stud yourself. And I really like that. It's a good mentorship sort of a atmosphere with players on these first few picks.
Yeah. Now, straight into the Cowboys. They've made their pick. They've picked Tyler Booker. Listed as a guard, 6'5", 321. His workout number's not the best as you expect for a big man.
Well, don't worry. He's running faster than he's 40 right now.
Exactly.
He wants to get to that stage.
He might be more 6'4.5" than 6'5", but it depends on where you listed. He was a 2-year starter, so he played left guard for Alabama as a junior. He's solid. He's very thick frame, very strong at the point of contact. And he doesn't get moved around much. Like he's a wall essentially. Yeah. He's not really a mover though. He doesn't really have elite foot quickness. I wouldn't say he's very happy. He's about the Cowboys.
Bear hugging Roger Goodell.
He doesn't really fire out of his stance much. He's not really a mover. So I don't think he's the sort of guard you're going to use on a pulling or screens very much. He does have elite length at 34.5 inches arms. So there's some thinking like he has that profile potentially to be a right tackle, but I just don't think he's that kind of mover. So I think he's going to be a guard, probably left guard going into the pros. He gets good use of his hands. He basically erases DTs. Like they just can't get off him. He's very good. His vision is good. He maintains the blocking steam well. He's very strong. His base is strong. He doesn't get moved around at all. I expected he'd struggle a little bit with speed rushers. Guys that are slightly undersized can move around him to kind of negate his size and strength. But an offense that's a power-heavy, Cowboys, would be a great fit. And that's exactly their big offense. They like to run inside. So I think that's a great fit for him.
A lot of mocks had Tyler Booker going to the Cowboys. Zach Martin just retired in March. Future Hall of Famer, inside offensive lineman. This is pretty obviously that's big shoes to fill. Yeah. I'm not saying he's Zach Martin,
like for like,
but it's a like for like.
On paper, it's a great fit. This is, I think, their number one pick on their board going in. It fits all of the needs of what they're needing to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some moves now. Yeah.
Where does he play? Because you think Guyton and Smith probably stay that side.
He might play right guard.
Yeah, it might be right guard or.
Maybe he's big enough to play on the right tackle.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got the elite footwork to do that. Mm-hmm. So, but again, he's got the size. They might try him there, but I think guard. They've listed him as guard. I think that makes the best spot for him.
Yeah, and the Cowboys' offense is pretty good on paper if they get all cylinders firing. So I think now for the Cowboys, I'd look for them to fill in some of the holes on defense after this. Mm-hmm. But replacing that incredible Hall of Famer that they've had for so long, feels like a lifetime, is going to at least give them what they need to do the right thing on offense after a pretty poor showing last year.
Running back also is maybe a need. They've
added Williams and
Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. So obviously, in
wide receiver too, I think.
Yeah, in the way that they've added, you'd think maybe they've made up their mind and they're not taking a running back. I think I like where your head's at there, Sean. Wide receiver too, someone to go with CD Lamb.
Yeah.
Who's next on the clock? The
Dolphins. Some talk about them trading back. They still on the clock, so they haven't. The pick's not in.
Yeah, 4 minutes and counting.
They've got. I wrote here offensive line again.
Yep.
Wide receiver, depending on what they want to do with Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. He's still on the team. They could add anywhere on the defense.
Yep.
And then there is questions of quarterback, but I think in this class, they'll stick with Tua going forward. So that's kind of – they don't have a backup, though, I don't think, or a good one. So they picked Zach Wilson. So, yeah, I think they'll probably be fine at that spot. If they're happy with Tua,
scary position, though, because if they have any injuries to their main their core starters – that team just drops off a cliff.
Well, we saw that last year, didn't we? Yeah. Tua missed time. They look very, very ordinary.
Yeah. Well, Wilson's probably a better backup than they had last year, so we'll see how that plays out. Tyreek Hill's his whole dangling babies over balcony situation and
Michael Jackson.
and baby mamas. We'll see what they do. They have put the pick in, so they're not moving. Otherwise, defense. They could just add on the defense anywhere. They've got Vic Fangio over there. They could give him some talent.
I wonder
guys.
if they're going to go D-line here.
Yeah. Well, Phillips Did Phillips do his Achilles last year?
Yeah, he did something, didn't he? And they added Chop Robinson last year.
True. Yeah.
I think it was Achilles for Jalen Phillips. I think you're right.
Maybe they're like a nose, like Grant. Maybe might be a good spot.
Knee injury.
Knee injury.
So ACL, I imagine.
Reconstruction surgery. Yeah. ACL.
Yeah. Confirmed ACL week 4 last year.
I think he had Achilles coming out. So poor fella.
Oh yeah, that's the two that you don't want.
Yeah. So whether they want to add there again, I think
they're happy with Jonnu Smith. He looked really good last year at tight end. So I don't think we see Tyler Warren go here.
Again, offensive
line. If in doubt, offensive line.
If in doubt, pick some offensive line talent. There is been a run on it. They're getting picked probably earlier than you'd expect, and the position rankings.
We've had 4 go, haven't we?
Yeah.
Three tackles and one guard.
Yeah,
so far.
So yeah, offensive line have been a third of the picks so far.
Yep.
Will Tabs, friend of the show, if you're listening, there you go. Obviously getting their respect. Who do you guys like as the next receiver? Matthew Golden?
What did I have listed here? Hunter McMillan. It's Golden, Burden, and how do you say
Egbuka?
I like Egbuka the most.
I think all three are kind of interchangeable. They have all a very similar sort of skill set and size. So it's pick your poison, essentially. If you like elite speed, it's Golden.
Yeah, no one's going to match his speed.
Yeah, so... But
Egbuka reminds me a little of Stefan Diggs.
Yeah,
yes. With how he plays the contested possession there.
Yep.
He's really exciting to watch.
Yeah. Egbuka, I think one of the big...
Still feels a bit early for any of those guys.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they're more back end first than here.
I reckon mid, but I also don't think for this pick.
Not for the Dolphins have their wide receivers.
There is some talk that Ramsey's on the block as well, so they could go corner.
And we haven't seen it. We haven't seen a corner yet.
Johnson?
Yeah, I like Will Johnson.
Johnson is... So I'm just looking at that list there, and they've got Barron there as well.
And they've got Jalen Walker as their highest left on the ball.
And if they think he's more an inside linebacker, that's a good fit for them too.
Yeah. Who have they got in this second line of defenders here?
Because if they've got Phillips and Chop and Chubb listed as outside guys.
Yeah. Inside, they've got Tyrell Dodson, Jordan Brooks.
Yeah.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
They could go inside
but that's if they think Walker's an inside guy. If you think he's more an edge guy, then maybe it's...
Well, do they reach for go Jihad Campbell? He could play inside.
Yep.
It's an interesting one. We're about to find out the pick.
It's still
pick
early
is in.
for inside linebackers don't traditionally go early.
Yeah, no, at 13.
And we're only talking about those guys because they have some profile that maybe they're edge guys as well. They can rush the passer for you a bit too.
They do play that 3-4 defense though, so oftentimes in the 3-4 you do.
Which is why a nose tackle I thought made a bit of sense for them too.
Yeah.
There it is, Grant.
Nice. On cue, Kenneth Grant, Michigan. So pretty crazy to not see one but 2 defensive tackles from the same college going in the top end of the first round. As opposed to Mason Graham, the guy next to him. This guy is a big human being. Yes. Not that Mason Graham's not big, but this guy...
In comparison, he's... I think they're the same height, but he has 35 pounds on him. So,
but look at his highlight. He's a big man running down running backs.
Yeah.
Like, that's rare.
Yeah. So he's 5'11", in the 40, 8'9" broad and 31-inch, nothing major there. Had 6.5 sacks total. He's a 2-year starter and was a rotation as a freshman. Now let me get my notes. So all those numbers were his pro day numbers. So there's a bit of caveat and a bit of issue here with plays next to Graham. Who benefits the most? Who benefits the most? Is one a better superstar than the other? I think they're still both pretty good. He's definitely a traditional nose tackle. He lines up pretty much in the A gap or around there. He, of course, much bigger than Graham was. It might be slightly top heavy. He's got a big gut, and he's definitely a bit slower. Not a great mover like Graham is, but he's a huge gap filler. That's what you're after. So, and as I said, he plays over guard and center. I'd like to see him fight off blocks a bit more, but of course that might be the scheme at Michigan. He's there to eat up blocks, so someone like Graham can be successful. He does rarely get moved back. He holds the line. He clogs it up. Mostly bull rush. You don't see a lot of pass rushing moves, but he collapses the pocket. Occasional swim, let's say, there on some of the smaller guys. Swim on actually his best move was lining our heads up on centers and swimming over them before they, like with his get off, is a little bit better than them. But what you see is what you get. Big nose tackle, gonna fill plug gaps, and I think that'll really help. The pass rushers they already have on that team, Chubb Phillips and Robinson we already talked about. So if he can eat a couple blocks, that'll free those guys up definitely.
Well done there, Sean. Picked it pretty much bang on. The Dolphins add to their defense and get a massive human being. For our Australian listeners, 335 is about 150 to 152 kilos. So, very, very
It's not
big.
the kind of person you want with their main focus to tackle you.
No, thanks. I choose life.
Yeah.
Okay, Indianapolis, their pick is in, so we won't have long to wait. Goodell is going onto the stage.
Are they going tight end?
Yeah,
here?
well,
you think
nearly
Warren?
every mock had Tyler Warren going to the Colts.
Or tight end at least. Like if it wasn't Warren, it was Loveland. But yeah.
Colts have a lot of holes to fill. A lot of holes to fill, a lot of question marks, and none bigger than what the heck was going on in their war room. It just looked like they had whiteboards all over the side, so maybe they've done some tricky equation to make sure that this is the right pick for them.
So it is confirmed. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State, put up some obscene numbers last year.
they'll be happy
with
with
the
that.
Nittany Lions going deep into the college football playoffs. And Sean will run us through the exact numbers in just a second.
Yeah, so
but quite different to Colston Loveland in his build.
Yeah, 6'5" and a half, 256. So he's got almost 10 pounds on Loveland. 22, 23 in May. He was 2 years starter. 3 years back. He's a senior. He had 8 touchdowns last year and 7 the year before. So, big ideal frame. Nearly every of the top tight ends is in this 6'5", 250 plus range. So they're all big guys. So he has the size to deal with edge rushers, and he seems competent in that, be able to block. The main thing is he doesn't look the fastest. He looks like a bit of a plotter in his routes, but he gets open. He understands the schemes. He just works his way down, finds the spot, and then picks up 5-10 yards at will. And that's where most of his targets are, 5 to 10 yards. I think that's the focus you want. He's a power runner after the catch. He's going to run over guys. He's not really going to run around them. But he is very safe for hands. He uses his frame really well, boxes out defenders for easy completions. High points the ball, wins a lot of contested balls, and as I mentioned, probably lacks that lateral quickness you might want, but I think you're happy with it. It is. I think scheme will matter, and you scheme him to get open. So I wrote here, he's not Brock Bowers. Again, no, I don't think anyone is.
I don't think he's far behind.
But I think he's got that right kind of mold to, get open, he'd sneak in, leak in there, box out against the linebacker, pick up your consistent 5 to 10 yards on a play, and you'd love that. If you need conversions, on third down, that's what you want, and I can see him doing that very well.
Had obscene production last year in his 16 games for Penn State, 104 receptions, 1,233 yards, 8 touchdowns, and then we also see in the highlights package taking the ball out of the shotgun and just jamming it down the defender's throats. So he had 218 rush yards for 4 touchdowns as well, a la Taysom Hill, if you like. Quite a different tight end to Colston Loveland, probably stronger, definitely slower, still had spectacular catchability.
I think he's a more complete package. He
reckon?
doesn't have the same sort of speed as Colston Loveland. And so if you go on Colston, you're wanting him for a specific purpose, but this is an all-round player that you can use.
Exactly.
Looks
so
NFL
much.
ready too.
Yeah. You can block in line. He'll help out that team a lot. So
he looks comfortable in the line.
Who's playing
though.
quarterback? Is
Well, they have
15?
Richardson.
Unless he gets tired.
Unless he gets tired.
I'll get the depth chart here.
Who's their backup?
It was Flacco last year.
Yeah, so that's my question, because I think they've brought someone else in to compete potentially.
Carson Wentz.
Daniel Jones.
That's where he ended
That's
up.
where he ended up.
So that'll be an interesting competition. again, quarterbacks that can move around and run a bit.
I like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And
They maybe shouldn't have paid him all that money. Maybe.
look,
At times he looked like a serviceable quarterback.
Yeah.
he was in New York with an absolute disaster situation there for him. So if there's any, Anthony Richardson obviously has a better talent ability than Daniel Jones, but Indiana Jones just has a nice ring to it.
Unquestionable AR-15's physical attributes. We were talking about this a couple years ago. Didn't play heaps in college football. Only showed it a little bit at Florida, and then we've seen it in patches in the NFL, haven't we?
Yeah. He's got a pretty ball when he's throwing it. It looks good.
Yeah, and when he's not tired and sitting down, and you're within 10 yards, and you've got Jonathan Taylor in the background, you're thinking, how are we going to stop these guys?
And add a big Warren there to be able to block for you as well, and then leak out and make easy completions for someone like RO15. I think that's excellent.
Well, you know where he struggled the most is completion percentage.
Yes.
A lot of games completing
hitting a target
under 50%. You bring in a beautiful security blanket to hit those 5 to 10 yard passes, the ones that should be the gimmies, and then let him do the work after, because he can break a few tackles in the secondary. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
I don't know why this keeps doing
we'll see. Still question marks over the quarterback, but certainly not the tight end position. That's a solid pickup.
In terms of skill positions, with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, we saw Josh Downs and Alex Pierce actually.
Alex Pierce actually was brilliant on those long, deep routes.
Yeah. He was a little sneaky ad for a lot of people's fantasy teams. They're coming along, and their offensive line's not bad. So if we see better quarterback play, the Colts offense could be reasonably productive.
And that's why this time of year, again, it's just so exciting, because everyone that makes it to the NFL has a reason for being there. They're the best of the best. But it's just whether all of the pieces can gel together and actually come to fruition. And it's one of the most hopeful times, because, you believe in your team. You believe in these people that have been drafted to the National Football League. So hopefully that these teams can make some improvements on last year.
And the AFC South is just begging for a team to dominate it. We've spoken about all these strong divisions before, and then we talk about the AFC East, with the Bills just being dominant over the last 5 years. Yeah. This really hasn't produced any strong teams.
Someone will go to the playoffs by default.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen the Texans sort of take the ascendancy in the last couple of years, but then you get to the playoffs and you're like, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, So the AFC East is looking for someone to go with the Texans, and I like what the Jags have done, I like what the Colts have done, and obviously the number one pick that's going to be all the pressure on Cam Ward at the Titans. Hopefully the fans will have something to be cheering for in the AFC South moving forward.
Interesting, the Falcons on the clock here. Pick's still not in.
Yeah, they're using their time here.
They're using their time.
It seems very calm in there for a minute left on the clock. It
seems a bit quiet there. So, they've obviously...
We're going quarterback.
Where do you reckon they'll sit this year?
I think defense is where they lack. They could pick a defensive player anywhere and be happy. So
agreed.
Now, any defensive player.
Two corners left there in Will Johnson and Jade Barron. Jalen Walker is the highest left on the board there as well.
Yep. Like, they've invested heavily in wide receiver. They've invested heavily in tight end, in running back,
in backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, they've got more than enough quarterbacks. They maybe some help on the offensive line if they really want it, but their defense stinks. So anywhere you think on defense, you can add talent. So I'd do that.
Looking name-wise here, I would say maybe in the front seven, Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell reasonable in the defensive backfield.
Their last 4 picks were all
offensive.
All
that's a good lineup, though.
Yeah,
they just need to put it all together.
Exactly.
So Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Michael Penix Jr. are their last 4 first-round picks.
Pick is in.
They're all pretty handy at
football
all by the looks.
Yes.
Yeah. Particularly Bijan, and then we've seen Drake London produce. Kyle Pitts just needs a little bit of consistency at the quarterback position, doesn't he?
I think they need to scheme a bit more for him, because he's one of the best tight ends in the league, ability-wise.
Talent-wise. Yeah.
So if you're able to scheme appropriately for him, you just need him to shine.
Yeah.
So the pick is in, and we're about to see Goodell come up, and we'll know who the Falcons are taking. Yeah, I agree. I think we see defense here. I remember they took Rook Aroho. I'm sure I didn't say that correctly. Late in the first round, I think, last year after taking Penix. So do they go front seven? Do they go defensive secondary?
Yeah, if they want some pass rush, I like Pierce and Green. As the next kind of
Both available.
Walker could sneak in.
Yeah, Walker's just sliding now, isn't he? So
I worry if he's a bit of a tweener, and they see him more as an inside than an edge. Yeah. So he's probably was.
Well, their current inside linebackers are Caden Ellis and Divine Diablo. Great name, sick name there. Yeah. But I actually I don't mind that actually. Jalen Walker going here.
Yeah. And for them, like Walker makes a lot of sense because if he play inside and outside, like they don't have they've got room for him to play where they feel best as well. Yep. So they can try him out at a couple spots, work out what works for them.
Yeah, you're convincing me. I'm starting to lean more and more towards Jalen Walker here.
Yeah. What's interesting though is
get in there, Walker.
No real picks yet. No real trades outside of the Jags.
The big one.
So it's been a bit quiet. They're picking as is.
Well, just while we wait for the pick to come in, let's look at who's coming up next. So the next few we've got on the clock are Arizona, the Bengals, and then
Seattle.
There it is.
They're all some fun ones. Ooh. All right. Hey, sometimes we know what we're talking about. Jalen Walker, Georgia, going to the Atlanta Falcons. Doesn't have far to travel, obviously. Did slide down a little bit. Some people had him projected in sort of top 8 sort of talent. Yep. Sean will run through the numbers now.
Yeah, so 6'1", 243. That's probably where the question is.
Too small to be an edge rusher? Is he too big to be an inside linebacker?
Yeah, exactly. He did have 6.5 sacks and 5 sacks in the last 2 seasons. 1 year really as a starter. The other 2 were more rotational. But he played a lot of off-ball linebacker. So inside linebacker in coverage than, say, your traditional outside linebacker, which is what you'll get the highlights of. So the question is, do you see him as a true edge or you see more inside? His best plays were when he pees his ears back, though, and goes after the quarterback. So when he's coming forward and rushing the passer, that's actually when he's the most successful and looks the best. I think he takes good angles and attacks gaps well, plus his leg drive is really good. He looks really strong even at this kind of size. He doesn't really show the movement and the lateral movement that, say, Carter has. To be picking him. So I think I actually wrote it here as I think he's top 10 to top 15. So here at 15, he hits that number on the nose. I do think he's probably going to be more pass rush, but there's a lot of projection there. His secret sauce, he's unnaturally strong. He seems to win against O-lines at will, and they just can't seem to stop or slow him down. He's always pushing the pocket. I don't think he has the elite ability to get around tackles for that creepy presser to be able to get to the corner and dip and come inside. But I think you're going to test it. So it's hard to see if he's going to be an O-line going forward or if he's inside linebacker. I think he lacks lateral quickness for the inside linebacker. He probably lacks size for the outside linebacker, and that's kind of where he's stuck in the tweener, and that's why I slid. But you can't question the production. You can't question his strength at that position.
So lots of question marks there. Let's go through some of the things that we know. He won the Butkus Award, which goes to the best linebacker in college football. And previous winners of that award include Devin White, Roquan Smith, CJ Mosley, Luke Kuechly, Von Miller, Patrick Willis. So for all these question marks of, is he going to play outside? Is he going to play inside? Doesn't matter. That's where I would go. 61 tackles, 6.5 sacks last season for the Dogs. I probably see him in that 3-4 defense playing an inside linebacker role. Mm-hmm. Just with that height at 6'1", you don't see heaps of guys on the edge.
Or in his length, because I think 32-inch arms as well. Like, you get some guys that just have ridiculously long arms that are short, like Elvis Duvenville's the classic one. He had 34-inch arms at 5'11". So, and that length then gives you the ability to be able to get to the tackle before they can get to you. It doesn't really have that. So, a lot of question marks. Doesn't really matter. He can play defense for them.
I think he's going to be fine.
They need defensive help, so you'll take it.
Sometimes people are just good at football.
Yeah, that's right.
He is good at football.
They just fit in as the set box.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Cards are on the clock. They got about 4 minutes left. I've got their depth chart up here, and we still have both the elite corners left on the board in Barron and Johnson, and edge rushers. We've still got James Pearce and Mike Green. So if they go defense, there's some pretty handy guys available there. Looking at their corners here, Sean Murphy, Bunting, Starling, Thomas. I reckon they may go corner. What's our thoughts?
Yeah, Bunting's not bad. Matthew Bunting's not a bad corner. I think they've got enough on the defensive, front seven side.
Josh Sweat, they've got.
Yeah, I've got wide receiver corner or offensive line again.
If in doubt.
Yeah, interior as well for them.
Specifically on the offensive line?
Yeah. There is questions on Jonah Williams' health as well, so whether he'll play or not. So I don't think there's really a right tackle left, but whether some of these left tackle guys, again, have the shorter arm length and whether you want to transition them over to the right, so that could potentially be a play. There's a bit of that too.
There's Josh Simmons still left on the board if they want to shore up on offensive
and
tackle.
The other Josh, slide down a little bit further.
Connolly,
is the other offensive tackle.
But you've got him at 40. So that might be a bit of a reach going to 16.
But these tackles are probably going to get picked higher anyway. There's a run on them, in this draft. I think if you don't have them, you want them.
But I think the Cardinals could be in a similar position with Kyler Murray as the Jags and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, it's like
where it's
got to be in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I think
it's go time.
Golden probably makes a lot of sense here to pair with Harrison.
Yeah, I
think
yang there.
Yeah,
I think that's a good pick. I'd lean a little more towards the offensive side.
Yep.
Because they're a team that needs to find an identity, and I think you can build around the Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, and that division is very winnable for them. Very winnable.
Some extra speed in that because they've got the big guys. They've got Jay Jones there as well. They've got the outside guys. Some extra speed probably inside. Take your top off. That I think could potentially.
I like a golden for him here. The
but
pick
if
is
not
in.
corner,
We'll see.
Corner.
I think corner. Will Johnson will be.
I'm not betting the house on this one, but I think that they're going.
Well, you went double or nothing, and
I got it back.
Oh, okay.
Nolan.
Defensive tackle. All right. So Walton Nolan, Ole Miss. So none of us could pick that one. Sean will bring up his numbers, and we'll have a chat about the big D tackle out of Ole Miss.
Their defense starting to look pretty nice.
Yep. To get sort of tutorage from Calais Campbell, Josh Sweat there on the outside. That front four starting to shore up. That's for sure.
There's good old Walton Nolan.
You're having to slide down a little bit in your notes.
Yeah, 6'4", 296. Didn't work out. Had a bit of an interesting career. He's kind of a 3-year starter-ish because he started at Texas A&M and then moved to Ole Miss for last season. He had 6.5 sacks last year and 4 the year before. He's definitely an inside defensive tackle, and he's got basically his average solid size for that. That 6'4", 290 is where you want them to be. He's a bit of an average mover. Interesting enough, they played almost exclusively out of a 4-point stance, which is a bit odd, but I think it was an Ole Miss thing because a lot of them did it. He doesn't really push the pocket, so you're not getting a guy that's going to collapse the pocket. He's a guy that eats blocks, though. So he does get double teamed a lot, and maybe that's why you don't see the big sack numbers or to be able to get consistent pressure is because he's getting blocked a fair bit. My concern is there's just a lot of players where he has no impact. And I wonder if he struggles a little bit due to his length. Because, again, he's a guy that doesn't have the elite arm length, and being able to separate consistency was an issue. But I will give him credit. He doesn't give up on a play. He continues to fight. And you can see teams clearly account for him and try to block him out. So I don't see enough to warrant like a super early pick. Probably here at 16 is probably good enough. It's probably a bit higher than I thought he would go, but it'd be interesting to see how he kind of molds out and plays for the Cards going forward.
Yeah, definitely. We had him going a little lower, certainly a late-end first rounder. So it goes to the Cards at 16. Yeah. Certainly a talented kind of guy. I'm looking here at his wiki. These were the colleges that he had offers from when he chose Texas A&M. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's pretty
this is highly
highly recruited out of high school. And then, for whatever reason, didn't really work out at Texas A&M. He only had the 5 sacks there in 2 seasons. Yeah. And then pretty reasonable numbers last year, 48 combined tackles, 6.5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries. So to shore up the front 7 there for the Cards, and caught us a little bit unawares with that pick. So we'll see how that all plays out in Arizona this season.
Yep.
All right, pick is in. The 17th pick is Cincinnati Bengals. What do we see happening here, boys? I'll bring up their depth chart. Let's see what they've got on defense.
I think either of the corners could go here, or looking for a replacement for Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, they haven't traded him yet. He wants a new deal.
All reports says he's going.
Yeah,
I think that if you go to replace him, you'll have a lot more leverage if you're getting rid of him. And if he decides to stay, then you'll have someone that'll play opposite, which would be scary.
Yeah.
What about, you mentioned corner. Their current corners are Cam Taylor-Britt, Dax Hill, Marco Wilson, DJ Turner.
Anything in the secondary.
Yeah.
So they had cardboard cutouts and got smoked by literally everyone. Didn't the Browns beat them? I don't know.
Well, that was literally the reason why they lost last year. Poor Joe Burrow was having an MVP caliber season, and they just kept getting the 38 and 41 and 45 points put on them. So
couldn't stop anything.
So
it's got to be defense.
You'd think they go defense. They did add Oren Burks last year, pretty solid linebacker from the Packers.
See safety here, maybe?
Yeah, safety could go. Jordan Battle, Geno
Stone.
I think Stone's pretty good. Safeties, we could see Nick Amenwari, who tested as one of the best athletes in the draft. Malachi Starks as well. It's sort of now into the front half of the back end of the first round. It's when we start to see safeties sometimes get picked. It's starting to be a little bit late for the first corner to go off the board as well.
There are some solid corners and secondary in this draft. So I would have expected a couple of them to be off the board already. Johnson's my favourite.
We're heavily trenches, though. So that's the main thing. There's a lot of trenches.
And there's a lot of teams that they do need to have that, and it seems to be where the league in general is going. But a year or two ago, we would have had corners off the board by now.
Well, you had Jahdae Barron at 9 on your board, and Johnson at 11.
They're good quality corners.
So they're both steals now, really. It's at 17.
And Fam Cam going back to Shedeur Sanders.
I wonder how he's feeling, hey?
Well, I think he knew if he got past the Saints that it's going to be a long wait. So that was kind of to be expected. The question will be, though, if a team favours someone else and like a dart goes ahead of him, that'll
Could
be
you see that happening?
Yeah, there's been a lot of rumours of it that the teams are interested in him. Who was the one? I think it was Giants said they were interested. There's a lot of rumours about that. We will see. We will see.
Giants have the 34th pick if Jackson Dart got down to them there.
Yeah, and I think it'd be like move into somewhere in here, get those guys to slide down a couple so you could lock in a quarterback.
Sean's pointing at sort of 26 to 28 kind of range in terms of trading up.
Yeah, and whether that's for Sanders or Dart, we'll see.
Well, I'm just having a look at a handful of different mock drafts, and Shedeur's literally bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Everywhere.
An interesting one that I see on this one is him going to LA at 26.
Yes, yeah, Rams.
As the heir apparent to Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
That is an interesting play. I wouldn't naturally think that because Shedeur wants to start now. And
well, McVay's
Stafford's
never
still
drafted a quarterback as well, so that's so will he get a chance to draft his quarterback of the future? We'll see.
I think having Stafford there could be an interesting. Let's talk about that later.
So Bengals again. We talk about trenches. They don't go secondary. Shamar Stewart with a mean chain and a green suit is going to Cincinnati. Texas A&M. Pretty good talent. Sean, run us through the numbers.
Yeah, well, we talked about perfect Razzes. He had 10.
Was he one of them?
Yes. So he was the number one.
Is Nick Amenwari the other one?
Yes, he was.
Yep.
So number 1 out of 212 defensive ends since 1987. So
the best defensive end
for
ever
athletic profile
from that
yes.
metric.
Yeah, from that metric. So 6'5", 267. 40 at 4.59. The broad at 10.11 was huge. Vert at 40 inches, wild.
Bro could be in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. So 3-year starter, had the stress fracture last year.
Do you know what bone?
Foot, I think, yes. Big question mark is production. He didn't get a lot of tackles and only averaged 1.5 sacks over the last 3 years.
Yeah,
so it's
okay.
1.5 the last 3 years. So didn't do any pro drills at his pro day, as you'd expect. He's a D end with a little bit of D tackle size. Whether, again, he's in that 260, whether you push him to 280-ish, want to play him inside or want to play him on the outside. Maybe as an heir apparent to Hendrickson's we just talked about. He's got a good get off and shows the speed, but I think he just lacks lateral quickness. You love the profile, but he lacks skills. And this is the thing I kind of picked up on is he gets off, he hits the tackle, and nothing happens. I feel like he just doesn't know how to play defensive end. That's my question. Like, he doesn't know how to use his hands or his length well enough. And again, 34 in a change for arm length. He's got the size. So you love the profile. And I think you take him as like, can we teach him to be an elite pass rusher? Because there's just too often he just runs into the tackle, gets blocked out, and nothing happens. Like he and the tackle engage and they don't move. They don't go backwards, they don't go forward. That's it. And then he just lacks the impact on the players to be able to make plays, which is why I think he has his lack of production. So I'm unsure if you leave him at defensive end, move him to DT, add 20 pounds or not, because I think he could be a monster against guards if you moved him inside and added a bit of weight. Or you profiling as like, hey, he's the elite athletic profile. We're going to teach him to be an elite pass rusher.
Yeah, he runs a 4.59. I think like he's got the profile there to be an edge. Just probably needs some good coaching.
Exactly.
If Hendrickson's there this season, maybe get some mentorship from him and keep him on the edge. And yeah, guys like you can't teach athletic ability like that.
Yeah.
You can still be coached at 21.
But then you get the question of, is he a football player? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is he a track athlete or is he a football player? And that's the way. And you have that question because of his production. If he had production, he's going in the top 10. So that's the thing. So, yeah,
and you know what? And you know where I think it's different is positions like edge, where it's so much about your like technique is important, but your athletic ability is so important, as opposed to say wide receiver, where we see all these track guys that get drafted highly and then they don't do anything in the NFL because it's different.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a perfect analogy, but I feel like with that profile that and some good coaching, he should be able to become a football player.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's why you're taking him this early, because you love his athletic profile, and you're like, hey, the other stuff will teach him how to do that, and he'll be dominant and be able to get double-digit sacks going forward.
Can you teach me to football?
Yes, exactly.
All right, Seattle is on at 18. I like this in terms of intrigue.
Do they go quarterback?
Yeah, well,
I think that
Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, Sam Howell. They've got
the backup team.
Three serviceable guys. Sam Darnold looked more than serviceable at times last year with the Vikings.
Well, they've gone straight away as well. Pick is already in.
So they knew. I thought when they traded away Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf that they might be going receiver, but obviously bringing Cooper Kupp. I think with JSN, Cooper Kupp, Marquez Valdes-Scantling's pretty serviceable kind of guy. I think probably receiver is less likely. They've got Noah Fant at tight end. We've seen the two tight ends go that we expected to go in the first round. Offensive line could definitely use a bit of help.
Yep.
So we could definitely see some offensive line, and then maybe anywhere on defense.
I just wrote D as well. I just said anywhere in D. Anywhere on defense, you'd be happy. So
their secondary, like in terms of name value, with Reek Woolen, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love, Devin Witherspoon, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So maybe
in the front.
Maybe front seven.
With the pick this quickly, they had their guy on the board.
Yeah, they knew. They obviously knew.
Let's see who they fell in love with, because that came in super quick.
Gray Zabel.
Yeah.
If in doubt, O-line. So this is maybe a little higher than where we had Gray Zabel. Guard out of North Dakota State. North Dakota State for not a Div 1A college, producing some pretty good
punts
football.
out the talent.
Yeah, pretty good football players. What do you know about Gray Zabel?
Yeah, so 6'6", 312, 12, yeah. He didn't run, but he had a broad of 9.3 and a vert of 3.6.5. 3 years starter, 2 as a backup as well. So he's a senior, so he's played 5 years in college. Tackle or guard is the question. He played left tackle. He didn't do his 40 because he had a groin injury. He's left tackle. He's 6'6", but he only has 32-inch arms. So he's not T-Rex by any regards, but for a left tackle, it's undersized. The question is, does that force him inside or onto the right side and being right tackle? That's going to be the question. Overall, though, he's a good mover, solid base. It's a nice wide stance, and he moves really well. He gets the second level when he needed, and he's a bit of a mauler. I like how physical he is compared to, say, Campbell was. He does like to get in there and bully around the linebackers. You can see some of his issues with length with defenders because they can put his hands on him, but he does have pretty good hand fighting, so I think he's good there. He's strong. He won in college a lot. The question is that going to be tougher when he goes to the pros and faces some of those more elite pass rushers? I think his vision's good. He picks up stunts well. His kick step, again, maybe not the elitist. But again, if he moves to guard, that's not an issue. Or if they move the right tackle, it's less of an issue. But I do love his involvement in the run game. He's very physical compared to some of the other tackles. I've written here, I don't think he'll make it as a tackle, but I think he could turn into an elite guard going forward.
They had him listed as guard, so it'll be interesting to see where he slots in on that Seattle O-line. No massive names there. Charles Cross, Christian Haynes,
Cross is a
Watini.
recent-ish selection for them.
And he was first round, wasn't he?
Yes, or early second. But
Anthony Bradford, Abraham Lucas. I'll just chase that up with Charles Cross. We're not saying that he's going to be playing left tackle, but just seeing where Charles Cross
first round,
was.
ninth pick, 2020.
So real high actually back in 2022.
Yeah. So I think left or right guard makes the most sense for him.
Mm-hmm. All right, Tampa Bay. It's a shame Monks isn't here for any sort of regular listens. The guy whose house we're in is down the coast at the moment. We're in the podcast studio here. Monks often here on my right. He's a Tampa Bay fan, so Pappy slotting in his shoes today, doing an excellent job halfway through here.
Well, and if I was to be Mr. Monkey, who would we be going with for Tampa Bay? Who would be the best to improve their situation? The Bucs have come good with Baker Mayfield. He's found a new home. He's playing like the number one overall pick that we wanted him to be when he went to the black hole of quarterback talent, the Cleveland Browns. I think you go a couple of ways here. They don't desperately need a wide receiver, but I could see Matthew Golden being a great fit in with Baker and Mike Evans there.
Yeah, Evans getting older. Godwin coming off that nasty ankle fracture.
They do have McMillan there, who's been good.
Yeah, he actually was pretty serviceable.
He was
when
great
Godwin
as their
went
third.
out.
I think offense is the least of their problems. I think it's defense, and I've written defensive line and DB. So I think their linebackers are probably okay. They've got some name value there.
Yeah, I think safety's fine. Winfield Jr. is one of the best in the league. Jordan Whitehead's not too bad.
Yeah. So again, first corner here. I think corner would work for them, but if not, defensive line. They can definitely add some talent there.
Outside,
or inside. You know,
Vita Vea is probably getting a bit old too.
Yeah. Not a nose, but someone next to like a defensive tackle. Tackle next to him's fine, or on the ends somewhere on that line. I think makes a lot of sense for them because I think they need help on the defensive side of the ball.
I think they're going to go offense with receiver. I just have a sneaky suspicion.
They've got 3 really serviceable ones. They've added Shepard there too. So it's
Sterling Shepard over there.
Yes.
Didn't know he went over there. No, I just have a feeling that Golden seems like a nice fit for their offense, but that's not factoring in their holes on the defense.
Are you putting your third house on this?
No. This is not a house bet.
I like corner. I know there's been a few teams here where I've said you've got 2 great corners left on the board.
Yeah, I wonder why the slide. I know Johnson had a bit of hip issues, so whether they're a bit worried about that, and where for Barron, whether he's just slightly undersized. But overall, their athletic profiles are still pretty good. So
you take either of them on your team.
Yeah, I think both would be good. Good there. I don't think a linebacker. I don't think running back makes a lot of sense for them. You'd be happy with White.
I don't think Evan Worry, despite how good an athlete he is, I don't think safety is one of their needs.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about these big
Yeah,
hats?
I was just thinking, they look absolutely ridiculous.
And that's the point.
Are they trying to be real life Mario? Like, what is happening here?
What they have a name? You've been over in the same vicinity. You literally don't see these things in Australia. Big cap.
But there's those huge caps. There's those huge red boots. Have you seen them online?
Everything's
Noggin boss.
Yeah, everything's
A
got a bit
noggin
bigger.
boss.
NFL noggins.
Like, unless you're Lil Wayne, you can't pull that off.
I don't even know if Wheezy pulls that off. Look, everything's different in the States. Everything's bigger in the States. It's definitely something that's crept in. I've noticed it maybe a few drafts ago, but there seems to be lots of people wearing them these days. The old noggin boss.
As long as they're sticking to outrageous things to get attention, an NFL draft is an acceptable place to wear it. But you just look like an absolute muppet.
The old noggin boss. They do look fucking ridiculous, don't they?
Like, there's more padding in that than any of these
That's better than a Guardian
angel helmets that they're wearing now.
Yeah. 2025 season, the O-line's going to be wearing noggin bosses.
Well, you're not going to get a concussion walking down the street with that.
Tua might.
You can cuss the person. Oh, poor Tua. You can cuss someone else if you turn your head. All right. Roger Goodell is out there. The Bucks have put their pick in. It's pick 19. We'll find it out in a couple of seconds.
It's going to be a receiver.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd be spoiled for riches. So receiver is not the one you thought.
That's my favourite left on the board.
Egbuka.
In Emeka Egbuka, broke all kinds of records at Ohio State. We talk about production and guys not having production with, like, say, Shamar Stewart a couple of picks ago. This guy has had some of the most production we've ever seen at the wide receiver position in
Ohio
college.
State produces talent across the board. He's had great quarterbacks with him across his college career. He's been just absolute dominant on the field out wide.
I think the one difference from the other ones is his athletic profile isn't as good as the other ones. Let's just say that.
But get him in open space, you're not bringing him down.
Yeah, and he's always open in the highlights that I was watching. It's running out of the slot nearly every route.
That's the main thing. So he's 6'1", 202, ran a 4.48. Out of the slot is probably where you see him going to be playing in this Bucks offense. 3-year starter, he had 24 touchdowns in total, 10 last year. Had a bit of up and down career over the 4 years because he had a big 2022 Injury. And a big 2024, but it missed 3 games with ankle and a bit of dip in production in 2023. He's actually a touch under 6'1", but we'll give him that. Everything else is pretty standard for a wide receiver. Where he stands out, and I think you mentioned it, is his separation. His route running is great. He seems to have big windows to throw to. Rarely has to fight for contested balls since he's so open. Good after the catch, looks probably fast enough, but if he isn't a wow guy, like he's not going to have some of those wow plays like from some of the other guys, like think Jefferson Chase. But he's just a dude that's going to get open all the time. I don't see him as a dominant number 1, but I can see him as a 100 reception wide receiver 2. Like, he's a guy that's just going to be open all the time and be a nice, safe blanket for Baker to dump it off to.
And, yeah, we mentioned that most receiving yards in Ohio State history. You know, we talk about LSU and them producing some elite wide receivers. If there's another wide receiver university, it's Ohio State.
Yeah, they just showed it. They had 5 first-round picks in the last 5 drafts, I think.
Crazy, dude. Look,
3. Back to 22.
Back to 22, yeah, you go.
Some of the names on this list: Chris Olave, David Boston, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Carter, Santonio Holmes. To be ahead of all of those guys in terms of your production at Ohio State, I don't think he's bad at football by any means.
Sky is the limit for him.
Yeah, I've said it, 10 picks ago, he was my favourite receiver after Hunter and T-Mac.
So
Oh, no, go, Sean, because your team is on the clock.
Yeah, exactly. I'm taking over. So.
Yeah, Broncos country.
Let's go.
So Broncos,
3 minutes.
if there's going to be a trade for a quarterback, this is a good spot if you want to skip the Steelers. Makes sense for Denver because the positions they want to target, being running back, inside linebacker, and safety, probably don't need to, you don't need to pick super early. Here, Hampton makes a lot of sense. I think scheme-wise, he's not a huge fit because if you're looking for an Alvin Kamara type, he's not quite that. I really like Jaden Blue out of Texas as that kind of comparison. But I could see them also doubling up on running backs in this draft because they have nothing at that position. So they could take Hampton here as your 1 and 2 down and then come back and get Blue in like a third round kind of thing. And B is your third down scat back. Like they definitely added that position. That makes a lot of sense. Inside linebacker, who we got left? Did Campbell go?
No, G.R. Campbell's still on the board.
So Campbell maybe there. Otherwise, I think Carson, who I can't say his last name, it's not Schwarzenegger, but it's like
it's pretty close to Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. I really like it's an inside linebacker.
Schweisinger?
Yeah, Schweisinger, but I think it's just early. I don't think he goes first round. I think he's more a second round. And where Denver picks at 52 may make sense if he makes it there, or they'll trade up if they really want him. So it's a bit of an odd spot for Denver here. If they stay put, I think running back. They could also add a wide receiver too. They have added a lot of young wide receivers with Mims and Franklin recently. They've got something they like, Velu, but whether they want another elite talent there, like a Golding, potentially. There's been talk about tight end. They could add another tight end, but I think the two main ones go on. I like Mason Taylor as well as a tight end, but I just don't I think it's too early for him. So they I feel like they're stuck here in this position. So it'd be interesting to see what they have.
You're a Denver fan. Who would you like to see them pick?
Something offensive. I don't mind the Hampton pick and come back and double up on running backs later too.
Yeah,
I think offense makes a lot of sense. They could probably add another corner, but I think it's corner wide receiver, corner CB3. You like your nickel because you like Riley Moss, you like Patrick Surtain. So maybe those spots.
And defensively, they were pretty good last year.
Yeah, defense. I've got less issue in defense. You've got more holes on your offense. And if you got Bo Nix now, you want to support him, you look to add talent there.
I agree. I think Amarian Hampton makes a lot of sense. I would have had the Broncos take a receiver before I had the Bucks take a receiver in that last pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a wide out. But yeah, I think Hampton being the second running back off the board makes a lot of sense.
And tight ends, Mason Taylor's the next one. So I think it's going to be one of those three skill positions.
They brought in Evan Ingram, didn't they?
Yes.
So you'd probably think not tight end.
Yeah. But that's the thing. They brought in Ingram, Greenlaw, and what's the safety's name?
Let me have a look here.
From
Halfunga?
All three of them come with injury concerns. So, those positions potentially could still do with a young player as coverage. Like you've picked a guy you think is going to be a good enough starter. But if they get injured again or have issues, at least you've got a young player potentially to mould and back up. So, that's why they're still there as needs. But I think running back's the biggest one on the board by far.
Do you like Hampton as a running back? Could they
I don't
go
mind him. Well, the thing is, we just got rid of Javonte Williams, who was a running back from UNC already, and they have a very similar skill profile. I feel bad for Williams. I think his ACL really ruined his explosion. So, and that's he had a poor last year. I think he averaged just over 2 yards a carry, which is not what you want. So Hampton, you can't reset and see if he can be that power back for you going forward.
And it would definitely be Hampton. They're not going to take one of the Ohio State boys or reach on Cam Scatterboo or something like that.
I really like Caleb Johnson as well. I think he for me, he profiles a lot like Le'Veon Bell. Henderson and Jenkins, I think, a bit too many question marks, whereas I think Hampton's more complete. But if they really like one of them, maybe.
Let's have a look.
But we're thinking RB at this point.
Yeah, I think RB makes sense.
Or something to help Nix, I think is what we're going.
Yeah, or a receiver, yeah. Goodell is up there, reading some stuff out.
Yeah, the young fella's probably going to announce this pick.
I would say so. Oh, Sean.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Well, we know it, so we may as well start talking about it.
Well, let me find the
profile.
Find the profile.
Completely got this wrong. Okay, so
I did say a third corner.
Well,
I did mention it.
Yeah, it was mentioned.
It was just like there's a need there because we did struggle for an extra corner.
So the pick is Jahdae Barron. We've been talking about it through all these picks through the teens that there's two very good corners on the board. I wonder if that was their draft strategy to go corner, or if they've just gone, hey, we've got a corner here that we really like, was projected to go a lot higher. Do we just take the best player on the board?
And I think size profile-wise, it makes a lot of sense because I think he's probably going to play a little bit more inside because Moss is a bit taller. Satan's definitely taller. Stan's going to play on the outside. Moss probably on the outside. We have McMillan, but he's been hurt, had a bad last year. So if you pick Barron, he can slide straight in there for you. And he's a bit undersized, if you will, for corner. You want 6 foot and over usually, if you're thinking Patrick Surtain. But he's 5'11", 194, overall good size, 4.39 40, plenty fast enough, 10-3 board and a 35-inch vert. He's a 3-year starter with 2 as role. It does actually say he's listed as 5'11", but he might be a touch under it. He might be 5'10" and a bit. Again, so I think he's going to be a nickel cornerback for Denver, at least early in his career going forward. And because last year when Moss got hurt or Surtain got hurt, they were games Denver lost. That one against Chargers, Pappy probably remembers it. Denver were playing a pretty competitive game and then Surtain gets hurt and then the defense plays like shit the rest of the game because they lose their defensive scheme.
It's a great game.
So this kind of coverage, I think, really helps for Denver. So
I'd love to say it's a crappy pick because the Broncos are the worst, but that's a a really good fit, and he's
and their defense is stacked.
He's a scary play to add to.
But you got to remember that division as well. Everyone's arm race.
Who are you going to have to play against? Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, and we just talked about how the Chargers and Raiders are looking better, or Raiders will look better offensively. Yeah, they're getting strong on defense. Makes sense.
It's a stud pick. You can't argue with it. Yeah. And
the running back class is deep. We mentioned a whole bunch of guys.
You didn't even get to what you could get in round 4 or 5, like Scadaboo.
Scadaboo could be 3rd round, 4th round.
And he could easly shape into a great starter.
Yeah. So I think there's plenty of guys available sitting around that you could get. So, value here at corner. So my notes, he played mostly outside with a little bit of nickelback, solid size, very fast enough. Seemed to play a lot of man. Press is solid. Didn't get targeted very much or at all, which you expect of top corner. His coverage seems solid. Good hips and nice back pedal. Enough recovery speed, which you'd expect at almost a 4.4. I'd like to see him be a bit more aggressive in the run game. And a lot of his big plays, his intercepts, come from freelancing, which is interesting where he'll be on his guy and then he'd drop off and kind of like slot in and then make a pick. And if he plays nickel cornerback, they might see that as he can be on the slot guy, see something, drop off, and make an intercept on a slant or something like that. I think that's a good fit. I'm excited about that. I love defense, so Denver picking defensive picks, I'm a happy boy.
All right, so who does that leave on our board? We've got Will Johnson, Jihad Campbell, Shador Sanders, obviously.
Well, this is the Sanders pick. If he doesn't go here,
might not go in the first round if he doesn't go to Pittsburgh now.
Unless someone trades in late. Everyone else has got quarterbacks from this point onwards.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most intriguing picks in the first round. Pittsburgh have quarterback as definitely one of their needs. Did bring in DK Metcalf on a big deal to partner up there with George Pickens. You'd think at wide receiver they're probably set. Defensively, not too bad.
Yeah. Running back makes a lot of sense for them. Because they lost Harris, who's now at the Chargers. If they're not sold on Warren, they can pick a running back here. Defensive line, maybe. Let's get some support there for Hayward.
Cam Hayward getting old.
Yeah. Outside of that, it's quarterback. That's the needs I've written down for them.
And this pick will shape more than just the Steelers. This could have implications on the whole NFL.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What happens with Rodgers,
Cousins, the whole lot.
Yeah. A lot of implications here.
So, oh my gosh, they go defense.
Defensive line, I don't mind.
Derek Harmon. So, Shador Sanders continues to slide. Do we see him go in the first round? Do we see someone trade up to try and get Sanders?
This is a very Steelers pick, though. Let's put it that way.
So, the domino effect of this will be big for this late first round. Derek Harmon, Sean is bringing up his profile.
Bam. So, where's Harmon on my list? He's in...
26.
Yeah. So 6'4 and a half, 313. He ran a 4.95, 34 and 3/8, I think that says, for arm length. So very long, lean athlete. He's a 2-year starter, 1 at Oregon, 1 at Michigan State, plus 2 more years at Michigan State. So he played his last year at Oregon. Had 5 sacks last year. I think he's got that prototypical size for an interior defensive lineman. I know the Steelers like to play more of a 3-4, but he's almost like a Hayward mold, essentially. So whether they kind of double up like that. What I do really like about him, he lines up dominantly in the B gap, but he's a great mover. He's got a quick get off, attacks angles. He wins with his hand fighting. He gets off blocks and gets in the back foot in a hurry. He's more a pass rushing tight end than, say, defensive tackle than, say, Nolan we saw earlier, who I think is more of a gap filler. So this guy's going to collapse the pocket and push the pile. So I guess he's more a traditional 3-4 end in that regard. So, him and Hayward might play on opposite sides. He doesn't show the power or the push of, say, Graham or Grant we saw earlier, but he did live in the backfield with his moves. Great motor, great hustle. My comparison, I'm using a lot of Denver players, but Malik Jackson, who played for them and then went to Jags, or Derek Wolfe in that size, 6'5", 300-pound-ish, guys that can move and push the pocket, get after the quarterback and get sacks. That's the kind of player him. And I said here, will make a team very happy. What was interesting, I watched that Jetty game again while I was reviewing Harmon, and some of those big plays where Jetty gets through the line and gets a really long touchdowns, Harmon's getting held by two different dudes. He's trying, he's like, if he's not getting held in that play, he might make this tackle, and that's not an 80-yard touchdown. So they really tried to take him out of that game to give Jetty the lanes to be dominant in that Oregon game. So I think he's going to be a really good pick, and at Steelers, he's going to be a dominant force.
Earlier in the show, we were talking about how some teams have got their mantra, their culture, what they like to do.
Defensive talent.
Yeah, the Steel City defense, unanimous. So whether that is just they love Derek Harmon and what he brings and being maybe a replacement for when Cam Hayward retires, or do they have some big question marks around Shedeur Sanders and they don't see him being the future of their franchise, or a bit of both?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of questions about talent, and if we want to talk about Sanders for a minute, and then we'll go to Pappy about Chargers. Sanders probably, if you look at last year's draft class, we've talked about Penix and Ward kind of being in that kind of mold there. The others picked ahead of him. Sanders is probably going with, you kind of compare him with JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix, and you go, I kind of like JJ's potential growth. And you look at Nix and you go, maybe I'll take Sanders over Nix. In hindsight, you probably don't do that anymore. But Sanders kind of profiles as a guy that's already pro-coached, so has a low floor. His floor's good, you know what you're getting, but he probably doesn't have that high ceiling of potential growth. So that was, I think, the concerns of how good is he actually going to be, which is question marks.
But he's the kind of player that you could have on your team for a good career and be a solid fit.
Yeah, exactly. So whether he ends up being a second rounder, I think that probably makes more sense. There's a lot of talk about being entitled and not having great interviews, and those people in those rooms can make those decisions. But yeah, I think now, unless someone trades in, whether the Browns and Giants really do like him and trade in late to make a quarterback selection, I don't think there's another quarterback now in this first round.
Yeah, okay.
I'd agree with that.
Chargers. Baby, what are we doing?
Okay, Chargers at pick 22 is an interesting one. I anticipate they'll be chewing up a lot of the clock. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade back. This isn't with what's... we
haven't said many trades, though. No. Having said that,
with what's gone, I think some of the key players that we were looking for aren't on the board. And
actually, they're going to pick Johnson because he's from Michigan.
That is one of the draw cards.
And they need corner, so
they don't need corner as desperately as you might think. They hit a slam dunk on 2 5th-round picks last year on Tart, and the other name is escaping me, but they had 2 starters from the 5th round, both corners.
What's the deal with Samuel?
Asante Samuel? He's likely to leave the Chargers. Didn't play out how they expected it.
Yeah,
but
that's why I think I put corner down.
Joe Ortiz has also been said, he's their general manager, that he will never stop looking for corners. I could see Johnson, yes. Obviously, great ties from Michigan. Starks is a safety. Could also go there.
Yeah. Starks is kind of a safety corner. He's a bit of a hybrid. He played both for Georgia.
So there'd be good players. I see a deeper need in the interior D line. Lost Bosa, lost Poona Ford. Yeah. So I was hoping for a Kenneth Grant, but with what's on the board left, I don't know. I don't know which player they go for here. I think that they might go for a Golden. Matthew Golden here would.
You love Matthew Golden, don't you?
I think he's fantastic.
They're a run team, bro. They got Harris now. They're going to run like crazy.
But if you get a Henderson or a Hampton as well, that would also be a pretty comfortable pick. They need help outside of Lad McConkey on their offense. The defense have an amazing coordinator.
They need a wide receiver
that make anything work. Like they made starters out of 2 5th-round picks. So I've got faith in their head office that they'll make it work.
Johnson kind of had a better back end of the year, and they brought Mike Williams back, so they don't need to reach on a wide receiver.
I don't think Golden at 22 is a reach.
No, but is he the best fit for the team?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, Johnson and Williams are big outside guys.
Yeah,
and you've got your lad's your slot. He's inside.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's a minute 10 left. I wouldn't be surprised if we trade back. They love getting comp picks. So
what are you trading up for? That's the issue. I don't think there's. I think there's been a huge run on D line and
anyone that needs offensive line.
Yeah, I think most of the good guys are gone, and we're kind of in the guys that should be going in the 40s are now potentially being talked about.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what sort of talent. I think they need you lost Bosa. You want some more pass rush in some form.
Interior line.
D-line makes a lot of sense.
D-line makes a lot of sense. And I think you've got Green and Pierce kind of floating around. Maybe more outside linebacker kind of size, but whether you want some more pass rush. You've just signed Mac for a year.
Your 1 year deal. We've got a lot of 1 year deals on the clock, so we do need some
long-term
future
pass rush going forward too. So I think that makes a lot of sense. They are working the
they're going to use up
this
all
will be the
10
Chargers.
minutes.
They will use every second to they would have been making trade calls.
Well,
I know you say you don't know who would trade up, but they would have made trying to trade back.
Well, I would say that they had two there. I'd say one would be calling the pick in, the other one would be talking to whoever the pick E is.
Yeah,
draft E is. So
I'm sticking with Golden. I think that's the way that it will trend here.
Yeah. I'm feeling defense.
I think D-line.
I just don't know who on the D-line that they'll reach up for right now.
All the interior guys are gone.
Yeah. It's like anyone else I think would be a reach, and you could probably still get value in
Farmer,
the third or fourth round pick.
I don't know if they'll go down that far.
That's far though, yeah.
Because Golden won't be around the next time they get in round two.
But it depends on how you see him. Landon Jackson's kind of a more traditional defensive end size, so for guys that aren't outside linebackers.
I've seen the footage of inside linebacker.
Eziruka, I can't say it properly. Eziruka?
Yeah, the safety?
No, the edge.
The edge?
Donovan.
That's
right. He's the only one on the best available that we've got up on the screen now that I've heard chatter about.
Yeah, him and Green, I think, topped for sacks. I think Green had 17 last year and he had 16 from memory. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, they're the top sack guys left.
How are your inside linebackers there, Henley and Perryman? Because Jihad Campbell's still on the board.
Perryman's old, very good, but old. And their rush defense last year was not great.
Okay.
So they do need to address a lot of layers on the defense, but cornerback is not one of them that I would expect.
What Michigan players left available?
Will Johnson.
Who else from Michigan is?
But like
high end, I don't think.
I think Johnson's the last one.
Yeah.
We're just pulling your chain.
No, they picked a couple of Michigan people last year, and Harbour likes to keep his people with him.
It's coming out.
I don't know. I want Matthew Golden. We'll see what they do. But Chargers are notorious for just going a complete opposite direction. Last year we thought there'd be a wide receiver number one, and they went with Joe Alt, and that was an incredible choice. So
it worked out well actually, picking up Ladd and Joe Alt, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, we got 4 starters out of our draft last year.
Yeah,
take it.
Amari Hampton. There we go.
Okay. So we see the second running back go in Amari and Hampton out of North Carolina. We just spoke about division rivals, Denver being heavily slated to take him. He slips down a couple picks to go to LA and wear sky blue.
So I guess Dobbins, Edwards replacement with Hampton and Harris going forward.
Well, and Harris is only on a 1-year deal as well, so maybe this is a pick for the
fantasy,
future.
bro. It sucks committees. Oh
Committees, yeah. This is true.
All right, let's get Hampton's numbers.
All we need is we've got our workhorse back with Najee Harris. He's hit 1,000 yards every single year, and now having this as a future stud is a pretty good pick. I like it.
I think Hampton can be that 3-down back. So 6 foot, 221, like all the size you'd expect. Ran a 4.46, plenty fast enough, 10.10 broad and a 38 vert. A 2-year starter, played a lot as a freshman, so he had 36 touchdowns in total with 15 of each of the last 2 seasons. So I think we had to have Hampton 19. He had a Razin 9.7, which is pretty high. Traditional RB size, he might be a touch under 6 foot. They gave him 6 foot. So he's strong on blitz pickup, a real strength. He's big and physical. Doesn't seem that shifty or jumps gaps that much. Just hits a hole and runs over a dude. So power inside runner that will always pick up yards. Solid hands, will get the job done. Doesn't really make guys miss in the overfield. More runs through than and over them. Don't really have much else to add. He's a big downhill runner. I wrote here hard to say first round because I was a bit worried about that kind of style that maybe won't fit for a lot of teams. But I think with Harris and Hampton there, that kind of makes a lot of sense for the Chargers.
He's a Harbaugh kind of guy.
Yeah. I kind of feel like he's not – Dobbins is more shifty, but he's got the same sort of size. It'd be interesting to see how he fits in his role and how they work him and Harris. Because Harris is significantly bigger. Harris is like 250 at 6'2". So,
well, the thing that I've gotten used to as a Chargers fan is being let down by the draft. Last year, I loved it. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't really made apparent until a couple of weeks into the season. So I am excited for whatever they do, but
Hampton's good though. I think that's
you just gotta wait and see with the Chargers. They make with the new front office. They're certainly changing how the culture of the club has been since it began. So it's exciting to see they've taken a swing on offense, giving Justin Herbert some more options to play with, and becoming a run-first team, I think is a fantastic opportunity. Yeah, it's Ravens 2.0, this Chargers team.
Well, I think that's how the 49ers were successful when Harbaugh was there as well. They used a lot of run plays and had Kaepernick to run when he needed to. So that was their strength that got them to the Super Bowl to play the Ravens. So I think we'll rebuild that, and I think that makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, he doesn't jump out at me as a player that I'm gonna be saying, Super Bowl or bust now. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
You're better for it though. You think you're better for it. And if he's Harris is there for a year, they kind of work it out, and then Harris is gone, and then he's your 3-down back going forward.
You got to be happy with that.
Be happy with it. Yeah, exactly. So Pepe, what defensive player is the Packers taking?
Well, I've just brought up an ESPN article on odds. Defensive line edge rusher is even money to be the Packers' first pick, with corner being a close second. So corner is going to be interesting with Jai Alexander being locked up, but there was a lot of talk about him leaving.
Yeah, I've got corner here, defensive line. I had some.
Eric Stokes did leave as well.
Yes.
So high draft pick not that long ago. Will Johnson's still on the board.
They've also got Maxwell Hairston, I think is the next corner on that list. Starks maybe as well, if you kind of see him as a bit of both.
Yeah, safety's interesting because they brought in Xavier McKinney from the Giants, who led the NFL in intercepts and was really, really good last year. Evan Williams is serviceable, but he's I think not the athlete that Starks or Emin-Worry would be.
And Starks is more a traditional DB, so he floats around a lot of it. So he's good length, and you can kind of play him anywhere in the secondary. So he gives you a bit of scheme fit there.
I think I like secondary a little bit more than the D-line. Lucas Van
Especially
Ness,
with the run on D-line at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously you've got more guys on the board that you could pick from, and it's getting a bit thin with D-line. And Packers D-line is definitely serviceable. They drafted Van Ness, who has been okay. Kenny Clark is an excellent interior guy. Rashawn Gary's an excellent defensive end. Devontae Wyatt's their other D tackle. They might look to add a little bit more depth there because it's after the starters, it does drop off pretty quick. I think linebacker, they're pretty set. I wouldn't be surprised to see secondary, and whether that's a corner or get Malachi Starks to be your nickelback, something like that.
Yeah. Other than that, I think tackle.
Yeah.
I had Simmons maybe for them. He's still on the board, so yeah, I think tackle makes sense. I had seen some chat about wide receiver, considering the lists of ups and downs and injuries for them.
Well, they don't have any superstars.
Matthew Golden. He's not bad.
Yeah.
You've definitely been right in the Matthew Golden train. Look, adding some speed into that already very pacey offense wouldn't hurt. Their wide receiver room is one of the most interesting in the league in that they don't have a superstar wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like Jaden Reed is not a superstar. Christian Watson
On his day,
struggles to stay healthy.
struggles to stay healthy. He's got bad hamstrings.
And then Romeo Dobbs, again, very serviceable kind of guy.
And Wicks as well.
They really like Wicks.
They all had a great game last year.
Yeah.
Their only
it was never at the same time.
free agency move that really made was add Hardman. So
Yeah.
but I think he's more a role guy for them. I don't think he's going to be a full-time starter with that list.
Yeah.
I think they struggle a little bit with injuries and whether they want someone to be number one. But I just don't think Golden's that dude, or even Luther Burden as the other one. It's like, I just don't think they're quite dominant wide receiver ones that you look for.
Well, the office looked pretty happy in there. Who do you reckon they're going with?
Defense.
I reckon D. Yeah, like we speak about
either that'll tackle
about culture and tactics more than anything.
Yeah.
You know, Green Bay's always had a strong offense, really, but when it comes to the draft, they don't draft wide receivers in the first round.
Yeah.
We know that. And they love to draft defensive players at whatever level in the first round. So I think they've seen, like, they look pretty happy in their room. So whether if it's Will Johnson or Malachi Starks that they wanted, or maybe to shore up the offensive line. When you look through Rashid Walker, Aaron Banks, Elkton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, it's a serviceable offensive line, but it's not a NFL, dominant NFL offensive line.
And if you're protecting Love, it's probably at the top of their list as well. So if not now, then maybe later. But there's a big pick being in Green Bay.
Let's see. Yeah, well, this is going to be massive too because, they're panning through the crowd at the moment now. And I don't know, 75% of the people there seem to be Packers fans.
Yeah, you'd think so. That most of them would be locals to Green Bay.
It's a great crowd that they've
it looks
gotten
cool,
here.
For anyone that's not seen the visuals. So it's nighttime there now in Green Bay. It started off sort of in the twilight. They've got Lambeau in the background. It's lit up in green and gold. All the they don't spare any cost in the NFL, do they, when they're doing things?
Looks like they've got a good concert on as well. They've got a couple of bands.
House
bands, the show value's got to be fun for those.
It looks like it would be fun. It looks like it would be a pain in the ass once you got to your spot.
Yeah.
Because I think getting in and out, much like being in the front of a music concert. I think
you're standing for a few hours.
I think once you're there, you're not moving.
Yep.
I'd still want to go to one.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. Going to one bucket list would be would definitely
An
be
NFL draft,
would be fun.
first round.
Yeah.
This is Mark Murdoch, is it?
Yeah, coming out here,
Mark
Murphy.
Sorry, I've been watching Daredevil.
Who's Mark Murdoch?
Matt Murdoch.
So you just combine the
It's
two.
on the mind.
Yes.
So the pick is in, 23rd pick. It's going to be.
What would you like, Pepe?
I would like Will Johnson. I think it makes sense to replace Eric Stokes.
Coverage for Alexander.
Yeah, coverage.
Leaves.
And again, we talk about when you studs get hurt and you don't perform very well. We've seen that when Jair Alexander is hurt. I wouldn't be mad with Malachi Starks. I wouldn't be mad with your next best offensive lineman.
You wouldn't have to go far, likes Michigan.
Yeah, true that. So we're about to find
Used
out.
to playing in the cold. That makes a difference.
I wonder if they consider that as well, if they've come from cold weather,
California kids.
University. I don't know. Do they consider that if you're going to have to play 8 games a year in the frozen tundra?
I know they did to use a comparison, Josh Allen, because Buffalo.
Come from Wyoming.
Miami, that is like he plays in cold weather and he looks strong enough. He's not going to have any issues playing in Buffalo.
I suppose, at quarterback, you really
at quarterback, yes, you really
look at it.
I
suppose, at each position, it probably gets a little bit less. Receivers still probably important, but by the time you get in the trenches, it's probably less important.
Well, this is such an unusual draft, and there's been only one quarterback, so there's only one player that a team has been like, yes, this is the future. And we knew that it was a weak quarterback class in comparison to others going in.
Whoa! Yeah, boy!
They've finally done it.
Yeah, boy. The year that I thought that they wouldn't do it, they go out and draft a wide receiver.
Just to mess with you.
Matthew Golden. Well, Pappy's been riding Matthew Golden train definitely through these mid first round picks.
He's just an exciting player to watch. Like on the tape, everything that you see him do, his get off from the mark is just awesome. He's a speed guy, so not going to be your big body contested catcher, but he will get open. He will be a huge downfield threat, and Jordan Love has an arm. So seeing these two link up, I'm excited for that. I just want to see him play good ball.
He's fast as fuck, boy. Run us through his athletic profile.
We'll start with that. He ran a 4.2940, so he's
fastest in the draft class.
I think so.
We're very receiver, close.
Definitely at receiver. He's the fastest receiver. 5'11", 191. So again, not the biggest. 3-year starter, 22 total touchdowns. Last year was his breakout year because he moved to Texas from Houston, replacing Worthy and Mitchell, who went out last year. What's interesting about him, so he had turf toe in 2023, so he missed the end of that season. He did do some returning, so he can also be your punt returner. He's got good hands, maybe not as strong as McMillan, as we saw earlier.
Yeah.
He has massive hands. Routes are clean and crisp. My concern is he isn't going to win on the outside and win a lot of contested ball, probably at that size. He's more than enough pace and good after the catch, but maybe a slot guy going forward. He was used this way with sweeps and screens at Texas. I don't see that quite 4.29 pace on the deep balls, but maybe it's something he kind of grows into as well. He might have worked on his pace and got it up there, but he doesn't quite, he's not a complete burner and just running away from everyone. I just don't think he's better than the two guys he replaced, which is my caveat. I just don't think he was as good coming out as Worthy and Mitchell were. So I think he's going to be a bit more of a role guy than a true sort of number one wide receiver. But I think in the Packers, that probably makes sense. They've don't have a true wide receiver one, but they're going to have a lot of guys that can do a lot of things, a lot of schemes, and your head coach is going to love that to be able to move things around and do what he wants. So, I think for Packers, Packers fans are finally happy. It's been 23 years, I think they said.
Well, they had the graphic. It's the longest
streak,
longest
finally
active
broken.
drought of not drafting a wide receiver
since
in the first
Javon
round.
Walker in 2002.
Done it a couple of times.
Yeah, I got it back in front of me. I just want to say two so many times.
It's interesting. He's on the mic, so talking to the people of Green Bay. That's an amazing thing for a young man to do in front of
good thing to win over your home crowd.
Over 100,000 people there, I'd imagine. Had 58 receptions, 987 yards, 9 touchdowns last year in his first and only year at Texas after coming across from Houston. Yeah, I tend to agree. I was looking at Worthy's numbers. Worthy probably just slightly ahead, but then we've seen what Worthy's been able to do, albeit in a very, very good offense and well coached and well schemed. But I think now that Jordan Love's just going to have just another weapon to add to this arsenal.
Just play 4 wide the whole time, and if they've given him good looks, just hand it to Jacobs. So.
And you're not dependent on any of these guys going down. Yes. We are in trouble. I think Malik Willis was serviceable when Jordan Love got hurt last year. You wouldn't want to lose Love or Jacobs. And I'm not hoping that it happens, but if you lose anyone at receiver or at tight end, you're pretty much sweet for depth.
Well, I think on that, I think Watson, he's your big wide receiver, so you probably lose something without him when you're having a big target in the red zone. But for these guys, if Dobbs, Wicks aren't quite fitting, then Golden, I think, is kind of their model. Whereas I think Reed, they use him more as sort of like how Debo Samuels is used to do more sweeps and runs. But as I said, he did a lot of that.
He might take that role now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to have a lot of potential matchup problems, which I think Matt LaFleur is going to be very happy about.
One of the reasons why I was so high on him is about what you are hoping for him, because even these first rounders, every single player has a level of concern. They're always going to have concerns about the transition. And so the upside, what you're hoping for from a player like Matthew Golden, is that he sort of follows in the same trajectory as a Justin Jefferson. Someone that in the draft, Justin Jefferson was getting told he's just a slot receiver. This is all he's ever going to be. And
Jefferson's a little bit bigger than he was, though.
But this is the hope of where you're wanting to go for him. Some of the critiques about him are similar to Justin Jefferson. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be
Justin Jefferson,
probably one of the top 2 receivers in the league, I think, between him and Chase. But that's the upside hope, that you're going to try and see him follow in that journey, that he progresses more so than what he's brought to the table so far. And the upside is there if he's schemed properly.
Yeah, and he's not going to have the pressure that some of the other guys do when, like, take Marvin Harrison, for example, last year going to the Cardinals.
Double coverage straight away.
You come in, you're our guy. We need you to be our guy, and that's hard to make that transition, even for someone as talented as Marvin Harrison. Now, obviously, he's not as talented as Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's not going to have anywhere near the pressure and the double coverage and all of that. So he might actually be able to fit in and find his role in the NFL pretty much straight away.
And I think that'll pose for a really long career. Well, we're already on the clock. Vikings are in.
Yeah, that was a quick pick.
I was going to say safety, linebacker, or running back made a lot of sense for them. But I guess if you've got a young quarterback and you want to protect him, you try to protect him. And they've gone out and got one of the biggest bodies in this draft. Let's put him up here. Donovan Jackson.
Donovan Jackson, guard. Run us through.
So let me find his notes. 6'4", 315. He's got an arm length just of 33.5 inches. So there is potential right tackle sort of size there, but I think he's a guard going forward. He played left guard for Ohio. He was a 3-year starter there. So he's a senior, played 4 years at Ohio. He's maybe a touch top heavy compared to some of the others. Like he carries it a bit through his upper chest and his shoulders than he having a thick base. But overall, I think his anchor and his form are very good. He's strong in the run game. He's quicker and moves around a bit better than Booker did, who went earlier. I'd like to see him get more push. He's not as powerful in the run game and be a bit more of a force at the point of contact because he's a little bit weak against D tackles that do slants, like fast slants on him. And he gets caught reaching for some of those guys. And especially when he gets into the second level, he also reaches a lot when he gets to linebackers. So all that kind of leads to a lot of missed blocks by him. But I think he has the size you want and the strength you need to be a full-time starter, and he just needs to work on those fundamentals. So I think he'll be a guard for them. I didn't really think Vikings would pick an offensive line considering how heavily they've already invested in the offensive line recently.
It's clearly been the strategy, hasn't it?
But I guess that's more tackle focused. So now they've gone out and gone interior, and him playing guard I think is going to be very good for them, and hopefully they'll make it a lot easier for McCarthy when he comes back.
The Vikings going to have some, a really high ceiling and a really low floor, you'd think, this year, because it's all going to depend on how good is JJ McCarthy.
Well, there's also been he's the only quarterback on the list. There's also a lot of rumors that they want to bring Kirk Cousins back. So
maybe come back.
Yeah, same thing. So regardless of that, you need to protect the quarterback, and this is a good pick for them.
That offense, all guys healthy, is scary.
Yep.
Yeah, of course, it's going to depend on how good is McCarthy coming off that meniscus. But
is that a trade up?
Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson.
So the Giants have traded up into Houston's spot.
Okay.
There you go. So, and where's that? That's one ahead of the Rams.
Okay.
So if they thought the Rams were hot on a QB, they've now skipped over it. There had been a lot of talk the Giants really love Dart. Let's see it's got to be QB. There's no other reason why you trade up to this spot, skip over the Rams. It's got to be QB.
What have they given up for it? If they,
I'll see if I can find it online.
Because
they've
got
traded their second, maybe next year's first as well, which would be wild to think.
I mean, they've got 2 veteran QBs in their room, but they've not spent a lot of money. Russell Wilson's not on a big deal. Jameis Winston is on a very small deal.
It's all incentive based as well, so yeah.
So they've not extended themselves too far with the veterans that they've pulled in.
Yeah.
So if they've fallen in love with the QB,
I'd seen a lot of rumors about Dart, but
the pick is in
for Sanders.
Jackson Dart, quarterback, Ole Miss. They traded up to get their man. We do see a second quarterback in the first round, and it's not Shedeur Sanders.
There you go.
How crazy. All right. Sean, run us through Jackson Dart.
Yeah, very interesting. So 6'2", 223, didn't do any athletic numbers. Was a 3-year starter at Ole Miss. He had 1 year before that at USC, which probably had Williams starting. There it is. So 25th overall pick, traded for second round, third round, and
a third round
this year, and another third next year.
So that's really not too bad. Yeah,
it's a move up, I guess.
Only
8
a couple of spots.
Yeah. So it's not too bad. So let's find Dart. So he had 29 touchdowns, 6 intercepts last season. He averaged about 500 yards on the ground with a couple of TDs as well. He looks more like your prototypical quarterback. He filled out, good size. You think he has most of the arm strength you would expect. His motion's pretty tight. The ball gets a little wide, occasionally a little slide arm out of sling and sling action, but you're not too worried about that. He's not Phillip Rivers or anything like that. Again, another all shotgun offense. He had to make a lot of reads and a lot of decision making, which you love to see. It's not. They sort of simplified a little bit as the season went on, because I watched a couple of games. He started off with a lot of decision, and I think they simplified it a little bit to make it a little bit easier on him, especially when they were struggling in games. You could see they went to like a one side and two read kind of thing. His pocket awareness is surprisingly good. You see him move around a lot, and he picks up on the rushers and he gets away with it, which I thought was really impressive. It's a skill that not many people talk about, but yeah, be able to just like slide and move away from defenders. It was uncanny the amount of times he'd just be able to pick it up. What was interesting though is he reminds me a lot of when Drew Lock came out, and Lock had a lot more top end cannon for an arm as a comparison, and he went second round. So I don't think he's quite as a first round quarterback. I think he's probably more better as a second rounder, but they've obviously made the decision and they've wanted to skip the Rams here to get him. I think you see the potential growth. He needs to grow to be a full-time starter, and I guess sitting behind Wilson and Winston. I was just like, which one did I say already? For a season, I think will be very, very good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, we just spoke about Matthew Golden not having pressure to perform straight away. This guy's, you'd think, going to be able to go out there and watch Wilson and Winston and sit and learn and not have to be starting and winning games in the first week. So it's pretty interesting. It's only the second trade that we've seen here in the first round, and it's a fun one. That quarterback room is going to be interesting there in the Meadowlands in the 2025 season.
Well, the Giants are a team with a stock on the rise. Getting Abdul Carter shifts that. Getting Malik Neighbours last year was great as well. And I think that they're a team that needs to escape the boogeyman of what happened on Hard Knocks with the trading of Saquon Barkley, then needing to be bold here. And you need to make moves to establish yourselves.
Last year was a disaster for the Giants, really, wasn't it? Like, not only them struggling, but your arch nemesis, getting your player on a pretty reasonable deal and then going and winning the Super Bowl. Yeah. It didn't really get much worse for Giants fans last year.
That's the worst case scenario. Give away your best player to your absolute rival,
nemesis, and they win the Super Bowl that year.
Like that's, and it was done.
Two
and
hours
you saw
down
the
the
trade on the Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
like,
and you saw it play exactly right. You saw it play out on Hard Knocks, and you pay your quarterback, who's not even on the team anymore, max contract or near enough.
The season, free agency before that. Yeah,
it was every worst case scenario.
It's pretty much as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
So this is a move for the future.
Yeah, they did have Jalen Hurts up there as a comparison. kind of hate that. I don't think he's Jalen
No, he's
Hurts
good
top.
with his feet, but he's
not
not
that
Jalen
good.
Hurts.
No.
And
I think-
he's not the athlete that Jalen
No,
Hurts is.
I think
either.
Jalen Monroe is a way better comparison for Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I kind of he's got tools. Let's just say that. He's got some tools. He needs some growth. I think he needs to sit for a bit, learn the game, and yeah, they've now drafted it. I think for the future.
And they've got a love for Ole Miss quarterbacks of the Giants.
Yes.
First Eli, so there's a little bit of sentiment there that hopefully the fans can rally behind because they need a.
What college is Daniel Jones from?
I don't think Ole Miss. Oh, is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
Sorry. A little bit of background
No,
noise.
I'm not sure for Daniel Jones.
Duke.
North Carolina.
Duke.
Duke.
Oh, sorry, that was who he was born.
He's from North Carolina.
Yeah, Duke. Okay.
When-
Duke play football? I thought they were just basketball.
Yeah, they play football reasonably. Enough to get Daniel Jones drafted 6th overall in 2019.
So, what is that?
So where does that leave us? We've
Oh, well,
only-
it says the Falcons are on the clock there, so we've got another trade. Are we starting to warm up on the trades?
Okay. Quarterback.
But, well, if the Rams are like, well, our quarterback's gone, we're not going to hang around. We can move back.
That's
So
to
where
me,
the Falcons come from then? That would be
Second round.
second round.
that to me really suggests that the Rams wanted either Jackson Dart or maybe Shedeur Sanders.
Well, they know, yeah. So they've given up 2nd, 46th, 7th, and their first next year. That's even more.
So that's a big,
That's
big
big,
one.
and that's to come up 20 spots.
Okay.
They do get
That's
a
a big
third
jump.
back, but this year, but that's a big jump. What do the Falcons want? What did they do before? They went.
They've had gone.
Their first pick
today.
was
They had a D tackle.
Yeah.
Harmon? No.
No, they had Jalen Walker. Oh, sorry, linebacker, I should say.
Linebacker,
Yeah,
defensive end, edge. Yeah, they went
Yeah.
Walker.
Jalen Walker.
They're going defense again for sure.
Load up on that
Defense.
defense. What would you trade up for though? Why come up 20 slots? What are they thinking?
Yeah,
Campbell?
to come up 20 seems a lot.
Johnson maybe?
Yeah, Johnson. Do you come up 20 for a corner?
Potentially if you think he's that good.
It'd be
Yeah.
a long time before
Simmons
you get to
maybe
pick again, so
if you're thinking offensive tackle. But
Do you come up
defense,
20
gotta
for
be
Jihad
defense.
Campbell?
Johnson.
Will Johnson maybe makes the most sense.
for me. So I think Johnson.
Yeah, I think it's got to be defensive play. You'd say they could use help in the anywhere in the secondary. I think
James Pearce.
Pearce, wow.
So defense.
they've gone
yes.
edge heavy. I love Pierce too.
Their
Pierce is
line just got a lot bigger.
because I actually reckoned Pierce was going to be a Ravens pick. Yeah, and Ravens pick next.
Nice.
Because I was like, because that's in my notes. In my notes is Pierce is a Ravens player. I was just like, I could just see him playing in Ravens as an outside linebacker. So for Falcons to come up and skip over them makes a lot of sense. Let's see if I can find his numbers. Where is old Piercey boy?
It's good to see two teams that were really disappointing from last season being aggressive in this draft and filling holes in their teams. Like, obviously, that's what they're meant to do, but so many times you just see teams that need to do something just sit on their hands.
Yeah, and Pierce is an interesting one because he's 6'5", 245 as an outside linebacker. Ran a 4.47 fast. I had him. Let me get up higher. 10.3 vert, 10.3 board, sorry, and a 31 vert. I'm going to scroll because I had him actually here somewhere. I think.
You found him?
You got a number for me?
21.
21. There you go. So 2-year starter. Was a bit of a rotation as a freshman. You scrolled it on me. I had it.
Did you have it?
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, my mistake, sorry.
So he had 7.5 sacks last year with 9.5 the year before. He's an outside linebacker, but he's a bit lean. You see that in his profile in his picture because of his size. He has an excellent get off. He moves really well. He looks fast. He's strong to hold up. He's strong. He holds up well. Has good strength. His hands are pretty good. He's being able to get off blocks and accelerate. It's very important, and that's where his impact is. He's able to shed and accelerate to the quarterback. He gets very involved in the run game. He can cover. Potential growth is where teams could see him become a dominant force, like whether he adds, say, 15 pounds and that's all he needs. Some questions on competition as well. because some of the games that I watched, they were playing lesser of the Div 1 teams and they were just dominating them. But he was quick to get to the corner and he beats tackles with weak kick steps. And he was one of the few edges that I saw got to the corner, dips, rips around, and then destroys quarterbacks. So, which is what you love. It's, for me, when Nick Benito came out a couple of years ago, that's what I saw. That's why I was like, hey, this guy's going to be a pass rusher. Come forward. He gets me excited with his pass rush. Added to that, he has the effort. I feel he could be a gem, and on the right team, he'll be very good. Not sure if the Falcons are the right team because I think he's a Ravens type offense outside linebacker. And since the Ravens are picking now, I think they're probably disappointed he's gone. Mike Green's still floating around, so if they want some help on the D line, on the edge for some pass rush, potentially they could go with him. But I think Falcons will be very happy. They now potentially have 2 edges, or maybe Walker plays inside a little bit, but they'll be able to rotate them around and. Yeah, to come away with potentially 2 pass rushes in the first round, you'd be happy for a Falcons defense to struggle.
Ravens on the clock now. They've got about 2.5 minutes left. Where do you think they go? They're pretty well rounded across the board.
I think defense, because they added Hopkins, didn't they?
They did.
And they have Henry, Bateman. I think they've got enough serviceable wide receivers and talent. Offensive line's good enough. I think just help on defense. So some talk about adding Sharks for them to pair with Hamilton, sorry, because they have a very similar profile, actually, athletic profile.
Yeah, Starks would be a nice fit for the Ravens.
Yeah, he's starting to slide a little bit, isn't he, Malachi Starks?
They could always add another corner potentially as well.
Will Johnson's still there.
Yeah, Wiggins is kind of a little undersized, but I think Wiggins is a really good cornerback.
Wiggins is good.
I really like him. They have Humphrey, who's starting to get a little bit old. Otherwise, pass rush. I think they need some extra help to get to the quarterback. That's what they struggled with, was pass rush. So someone like a Mike Green, as I think is probably the last of my big edge rush guys.
Yeah, after Mike Green, you got to really scroll down your board here, down to Landon Jackson.
Yeah, or the other Donovan that we can't say his last name.
Oh, yeah.
Who's actually not a bad fit for them too. So Donovan.
Is he on your board?
Yes, he is. There,
Eziraku.
Yeah, so he's a little, as a comparison to Pierce, he's a little bit shorter at 6'2.5", but he has about the same sort of pounds. What's wild is he's got 34-inch arms. Wow. So he has the length and, 16.5 sacks last season. He, again, also fits as kind of like an outside linebacker. So he would make a lot of sense here too if that's the way they want to go. The pick is in, so we'll hopefully get an announcement shortly. And then what do we got left? We got Detroit, Washington, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Philly.
So we've got 6 picks to go, including this one, which is just about to come in.
What's the deal with Cleveland being at 33?
Like, as in, who do you think they'll go?
No, why are they 33 and the Titans aren't?
Good question.
Could have been from a trade years ago.
Yeah, it might have been from a long time ago.
Scott Russell will tell you.
Doesn't say.
No? They just. Are they compulsory for something? Because that's the draft. No.
I've got no idea.
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, odd.
Yeah, normally it says out here if they've been traded. Cleveland have got 2 picks in the start of the second round.
Yeah, so they got that one today. That's from Jacksonville today. Mm-hmm. So that's Jackson's 5. Did the Titans lose the second round pick? Did they get...
no, they're right here.
Oh, no?
They got pick 35. I just don't know why that's swapped. Anyways, we'll work it out tomorrow, I'm sure, in the second round.
Yes.
Is it the same time tomorrow? Does it start about 10?
10 o'clock, yes. Yeah.
Yep.
So we get round
2 and 3.
2 and 3 tomorrow, starting from 10.
Yeah. And then it starts becoming rapid fire.
Yes. Yeah, I think 8 minutes for round 2. Mm-hmm. And then it goes down to 5 or 6 for 3. And then it gets down to like 5 minutes, I think, for everything else after that.
Ironically, day 3 is the funnest day for watching the draft because it's just
more
madness.
rapid fire.
It's madness.
But you see trades.
The trades.
They focus more on the call.
Well, you don't know what's happening either. Like the top 5 here, we kind of obviously there was a trade, the big massive trade, but it was all the players that were expected to go.
Yeah, you're gonna have like a range of 40, 45 players that is like it's these guys.
Yeah.
But after that, it's like you're going to get surprises. Some people that you don't know even exist in the draft. You haven't watched their footage of.
Yeah.
But you can get some absolute studs out of the fourth.
That's where
round.
you build your team. You get your superstar on day one, and you build your team through day 2 and 3.
Malachi Starks.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, defense. Talk about culture
fits
and
Baltimore very well.
Schemes.
Yeah, exactly.
They take the first safety off the board with pick 27, Malachi Starks, Georgia Bulldogs. Sean will bring up his tile and run us through his athletic profile.
Don't close the tab. Bam.
Go Dogs.
So 6'1", 197. So he ran a 4.5. And I did write a note here. This is like, safeties that run 4.5s usually don't get picked in the first round. But then I started remembering Kyle Hamilton went about there. So maybe
what did he run?
Kyle ran 4.6, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
So, but he has the same sort of athletic profile. Let me find Starks. Where did I have his? There he is. 6'1", 197. Did jump 33 inches as well on the vert. 3-year starter at free safety. He kind of played all over. He's just a true defensive back. He played a bit of corner. He played a bit of safety. He's good size. He looks like a corner, like in the way he drops backs and he plays, but he also played a lot of safety, as I mentioned. I did see him play a lot of strong safety as well. Then he moves deep. He's just all over the place. He did do a lot of tight end coverage, which is interesting. So for them, he was the dude that always covered the tight end. So his versatility, I think, is his strength. Shows good instincts, attacks the ball. He's not a real strong hitter. He's more a natural runner and moves around well in the backfield. Of course, you're going to be concerned about his recovery speed there at 4.5, but I think he's fast enough that you're not too worried. He's a good tackler. He wraps well. I kind of don't feel it. My final note was I don't think he's fast enough to be a first rounder, but he does a lot of good, but he's not like a must pick. So I think here at the back end of the first round for the Ravens makes a lot of sense. And I had seen a lot of talk about pairing him with Hamilton going forward. So did I say 6 intercepts over 3 years, 1, 3, 2? So 1 last year and 3 the year before and 2 the year before that.
Georgia and defense just go hand in hand, don't
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
They're just pumping out NFL players on the defensive side of the ball. Both sides, but particularly on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, he's got good size, good arm length too. So he's going to be a talent for them. And you just plug defensive players into the Ravens system and they just get good.
Yep.
Like you don't any of those concerns about pace and things like that. They just scheme really well that it doesn't matter. So I think he's going to do excellent for them.
5 picks left. We got Detroit up next. Been massively improved, obviously, over the last couple of seasons. Offensively, you'd say pretty set. Goff, obviously, at quarterback. They've got Sonic and Knuckles, Jameer Gibbs, and David Montgomery. You don't think they'd take running back. Wide receiver, they could get someone to pair up with J-Mo and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tim Patrick is the guy that they brought in to be their third, who, used to play for your team. Sam Laporta, they won't take a tight end, you wouldn't think. Offensive line, you think is pretty set. Probably.
I just wrote defense for them.
Pretty much like them and the Eagles have got the best O-lines in football.
Because I think come playoff time where they struggled a little bit was defense.
And Aiden Hutchinson missing last year, and there was all about chat about are they going to trade for Myles Garrett, trying to get that extra edge pass rusher. Do they go on the edge, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think they could use it anywhere. They could use a helper linebacker. You need pass rushers, and someone in the secondary could help. And again, another corner.
Left on that are on the board.
Inside, you've still got Jihad Campbell.
Campbell's still floating around. And again, I think it's still a bit high for Carson, sorry. But I feel like you go edge here in the first, you try to get a pass rusher. Either that or you pick a corner.
Yeah, Terry and Arnold, they picked up last year or the year before. He's very good.
Yeah. Branch is pretty good.
Yeah.
Joseph is good. DJ
Kirby
Reeves.
Joseph is good. Yeah, they could go corner. We just talk about now every pick. Will Johnson's sliding.
Yeah.
So
and there must be an issue with his hips because he had issues with his hips at the end of last year. He didn't play the full season, so they must be a little bit concerned with that. I think after what happened last year with Aiden Hutchinson going down, they need pass
a second
rush.
edge rusher.
He's your Batman. You need a Robin, so go get someone else. Do you like Mike
Green.
Green as a outside linebacker sort of size? Landon Jackson is probably the more, again, traditional defensive end. I think
Donovan Ezeraku.
Yeah,
That's how you say it.
Yeah, is the other outside linebacker kind of size. Nick Scroton, I think, was the other one.
Yeah, Scouton, I think.
which is right down the bottom. He's not even in my 50.
From Texas A&M.
Easier. Go across. Because he was 280 and he cut down to 257.
Right.
So he's got a bit of size, but again, I think they've told him transition more to an outside linebacker. Had been a lot of talk of him sneaking into the first round somewhere.
Oh, pick is in.
Pick is in.
Dan Campbell wandering around the room.
That's a cool looking war room. They got the blue eyes in the background of the line, and they seem happy with their pick.
It's interesting seeing all of the different war rooms. You've got some incredible setups, like the Giants' back wall looks really nice.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Colts that just are in a weird whiteboard
And some
mental institution looking room.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Some look like absolute madhouse. There's fucking paper everywhere, and it just looks like it's crazy.
But that
and
one's
then
good
and then
wall.
some just look really clean and like everything's running smoothly. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle, Ohio State.
He's not in any of our notes, so you might want to have to do some Googling there. So
Yeah, that's all right.
6'2" and a bit with 330-something pounds. Gone probably a little bit ahead of where people thought playing at Ohio State. I guess you can't go wrong picking him.
Well, we had pretty much a top 60, didn't we? There, in our-
Top 52 in the notes.
Yeah,
53s.
plus some names.
Yeah, so
They're going down in the depth chart here.
I would say they've gone for a traditional nose. So they want someone to soak up some of those blockers so you can get Hutchison more free looks. I only had 2.5 sacks last year with 8 tackles for loss. I think that they've picked maybe a little bit for need here. It's maybe a little bit early for him, but they think he'll fit well in their defensive line. And as a traditional nose, as a guy that's going to play inside, he's probably the next available, ready to go.
Well, some of the notes I've got on him: 100 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, and that's over the past 2 years.
Yep.
Strengths are run blocking.
Yeah.
So, classic
gaps.
Dino's tackle there. And good at getting off blocks and very adept at getting out of double teams.
He's a big human being, 6'3" or just under, 334, 32-inch arm length, 10 and a quarter hand span. Looks like he went to high school in Virginia and then a couple years at Ohio State, 2024 college football national champion.
Yeah, and I think it makes a lot of sense for that team. You look at the teams you got to play in the playoffs. A lot of them have got good running backs. Clog some of those lanes, take that run game away. I think you can see the thinking there. So time will tell, but I think it's a good pick.
It might not be exactly what everyone has on their boards, but when it fits a scheme, when it fits your need, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Will it make your team better? And now we're getting into like that late first round stage. It becomes a little less about who's the best player available on the board and more about who's the best player for you.
Yep.
So Washington Commanders are coming up next. I think offensively they're probably pretty set. I don't think we'll see another running back here, and I think they'll be happy with, even Eckler's old, but they've still got Robinson there. I think they'll be happy. They've added wide receiver talent, so I don't think they're going to go that mode. I think their line's, they've got Jamie Tunsil coming across. I think their line's good enough. I think they just need to add on defense.
Yeah.
And anywhere on defense is probably okay. Maybe secondary to add another corner.
They did bring Marshawn Lattimore across.
Yes.
What about safety? Nick Emenwari still on the board.
Yep. Safety makes a lot of sense.
His athletic profile's incredible.
But getting to the quarterback is usually the mode, and they're a bit light on with good pass rushes recently. With who'd they lose? Is it Ryan?
Chase Young, but the end of
last year,
is
now at the Saints. So yeah, I just don't think they have an elite pass rusher. So pass rush might make a lot of sense here.
Mike Green, Jared Campbell.
Yeah,
those guys we talked about. Yeah,
they'd be the top two that I'd look for those sorts of things.
I wonder what
they took Forbes last year as a first rounder. I think I just saw there.
I wonder what the question marks are on these guys that are sliding as well.
Usually health. It's usually something to do with injury. The stuff the medical stuff that people aren't privy to. Like for Johnson, they might go, your hips are fucked.
That's what the medical guy said.
Yeah.
The technical term.
Yeah, the technical term. Yeah, fucked. But we'll see. No, maybe not. Maybe it was the year before, 2023.
I think after Jaden Daniels last year, they took Johnny Newton, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
So interesting to see the shift in how they've been as a football team. Picking 2 last year, picking up Jaden Daniels, obviously the
Stud.
the correct
Stud.
call
Yep.
in hindsight.
Yep, 100% agree. Pick is in, so we'll get that in a minute.
You said that they beefed up at wide receiver. So Deebo Samuel comes across from the 49ers to pair up with Scary Terry. Noah Brown's pretty serviceable at times.
I think they added Gallup as well.
Michael Gallup there, Luke McCaffrey. I don't think they're taking receiver.
Yeah, I think they're happy with running back. They're not going to take a quarterback. They re-signed Ertz. Maybe Mason Taylor here early as a tight end, but I think they're happy with what they've got.
All
I
right,
think
someone
their
that's in
line's
the
pretty
room.
good.
All the cameras are flocking
Maybe.
towards one of the couches. Who was
It's not going to be Sanders, that's for sure.
he's going. I would be surprised if he doesn't go to the Browns with 2 picks at the top of the second round.
Yeah, surely.
Houston doesn't need a quarterback. Tennessee doesn't need a quarterback. So I could see Sanders going at 36.
Yep.
Um,
Well, they might take him just at the first pick there if someone's going to trade him for that too. But
no one trades up and jumps him.
yeah, but I think they're probably pretty happy.
So the pick is in for Washington. We're probably all leaning towards the defensive side again. Maybe on the edge, maybe Mike Green. Inside.
Mike Green's fun to watch. He can blow stuff up.
Yeah, I think he's good.
They got Bobby Wagner at inside linebacker. You do wonder how many more seasons Bobby Wagner's got left in him.
Ageless wonder, Bobby Wagner.
Future Hall of Famer. Roger is walking out onto the stage to announce the 29th pick for the Washington Commanders. Pick is in. Not defensive tackle. Offensive tackle, Josh Connolly, Oregon. Sean will bring up the profile for Josh Connolly.
So that means Simmons is still out there?
Yeah, I think so.
Where's
So a massive concerted effort here to strengthen up on O-line, bringing in Laramie Tunsil in free agency, and now drafting Josh Connolly. Sean, tell us what you know about Josh Connolly.
Let me get my notes up.
After you've seen what the potential is from your new quarterback,
Yeah,
invest.
yeah.
Protect him.
Yep.
Yeah. So 6'4" and a half, 3'11". He ran 5.05 in the 40, 8.7 broad with a 34.5 inch foot. He's a 2-year starter, played left tackle. He's got the good frame you look for. He maybe looks a little lean compared to some of the others that are already gone. And he carries a lot of that weight around his hips, which maybe makes him look a bit lean. He may be the nimblest and quickest feet of the lot, but he seemed to struggle with outside rushes a lot. So he looks like he's got good feet to be able to move around, but he seemed to struggle with some of those elite, really fast edge rushes. And it was interesting his style because he wouldn't kick step, like they'd go inside and they'd let the outside guy kind of go to them. So I wonder if it was more scheme fit in the way they played this scheme there at Oregon to kind of allow him to do that. He didn't have to drop back. They didn't have a lot of drops. There was a lot of initial hits and pushes. So it'd be interesting to see how he transitions now into the NFL. He's got good length, solid hands. 33.5-inch arms. So there's a lot you work with. I think I'd like him to be more physical in the run game, but he does have a good anchor. I think he's got a better anchor than Simmons, so maybe he's more of a better left tackle traditionally than Simmons is. I think you like what he does so far in the pass pro, and you hope he can teach everything else. And I think with Tunsil there, he's probably going to play right tackle, which is probably his better position, maybe with the slight undersizing of some of his metrics there. And so I think that's a good spot for him.
Only a few picks remain. Buffalo on the clock. They've still got about 5 minutes left to get their pick in. It's the 30th pick. They re-upped Josh Allen, the reigning NFL MVP, on a huge contract last month, 6 year, $330 million. Offensively, you'd say pretty set, although receiver could certainly...
Could add receiver.
Yeah, they could certainly go that way.
Running back.
Yeah, James Cook's very good, but...
Henderson's still on the board. Having it at balance with James Cook, I think, could be an interesting way for them to go.
Also with Cook, he's coming off contract. Like, he's at the end of his rookie deal. And there's a lot of... He hasn't got what he wants. There's a lot of... Hang on that way. There's a lot of talk about... Actually, let's get Connolly off the screen.
I don't know about
he's not happy. He's not happy with the contract talks so far.
Okay.
I think there's people like he's listed his house in Buffalo for sale kind of thing, and people connecting dots.
You're after a house, aren't you?
Well, I've just given away one with a crappy bet earlier.
So there's some spots there. So I've written wide receiver, running back, or defensive back.
I just don't think that there are any other wide receivers at the caliber of what would go in the first round. Like all of my...
Burden's the last one. Like, and he kind of fits more like as a Deebo Samuel, Jalen Reed type of player. So if they want that kind of guy that can... that they can do mismatches and different schemes with, he fits that. I'm not sure that's really Buffalo to the T, but there is that. Running back like Jenkins or Henderson probably makes a lot of sense. I really like Johnson as well, but I feel like they're more second-round picks. So I kind of feel that it's defense, and I think their secondary is where they lack the most. Like Hamlin and Rapp are okay. I don't think their corners are anything to write home about. So
Will Johnson?
Yeah. White's back there, I think, now too. So, but he's kind of getting a bit old. So that's kind of where I
would love it to be Will Johnson, just because I don't want the Chiefs to get Will Johnson. I think that if he's still on the board when it comes to the Chiefs, they'll pick him up, and that would be disastrous.
Well, whilst we wait, I wonder who Kansas City could be after.
They need corners.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, they could go receiver.
No,
all their receivers keep getting arrested.
Instead of injured, yes, yeah. Rice should, in theory, be back. They've just got a so-so room, I think. I like Rice. I like Worthy. The Hollywood Brown's got to stay healthy. Travis Kelce's not getting any.
They could go safety.
Yeah, they could safety. They got McDuffie, but they lost their other corner.
Legarius Sneed.
Yeah.
McDuffie is good, but they've only got him as a standout.
I think their defense was fine last year. I think their offense was where they had the issues. So offensive line.
They might just go O-line. Yeah. Protect the $500 million man.
Yeah, or get him another weapon to potentially use.
Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Just trying to fill a little bit of time here whilst we wait for the Buffalo pick to come through.
While they do that, they even talk about Philly. Like Philly, top to bottom, their roster is it's good. Like it's full. They just take whatever the best player available is left. Just pick that because they've got no other. Like they don't have any clear holes to fill. Like I guess Lane Johnson's getting a bit old, but their line is really good. They've got receiver talent. They've got running back. They've got the quarterback.
They did lose a handful of players to free agency.
Not a huge amount, but they kept all the main dudes they needed. Like out of their starting 22, they've kept nearly all of them.
A lot of the core.
If recent drafts are anything to go off, just find the best Georgia defensive player. That's who they'll draft.
Yeah. Well, I guess Campbell's still floating around there, but he's Alabama.
Yeah, so he won't get along with half their team. All right, the commissioner is up there for the third last pick of the first round. Fair few Bills fans around. And who have we got? Yeah, so we definitely think Will Johnson could go here to Buffalo.
I would love that.
Receiver of some sort, maybe, or a running back if they're worried about Cook.
Henderson.
Yeah, Luther Burden maybe.
They could always add pass rush. Miller's getting old, so they might need an extra dude there. They could really, again, these sort of teams that they're picking at this point, they could really do anything.
Yeah, that's where it becomes really interesting. All right, Here we go. They select, wow, so they go corner, but not Will Johnson. They go Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky.
I really like Hairston.
There's a sharp-dressed man right there.
So you know how you asked the question about the fastest runner at the combine? I think it was Hairston.
4.28. He ran 1/100th faster than who ran the 4.29? Golden, that's right.
So 5'11", 183, had a 10.9 board with a 39.5-inch vert. Really one solid year as a starter with his 5 intercepts. He did have last year, so 2023 was his big year. Last year he had a bit of a shoulder injury and didn't play in all of the games. He's a little leaner compared to some of the others. he gets the Nate Wiggins comparisons. I think Nate was a better cornerback coming out than Hairston, but I do really like him. He has quick feet. He covers the ground in a hurry, as you'd expect. He's not a physical tackle, and he kind of sits off in the run game a bit. But if you're picking him to be a corner to run with these fast wide receivers, you're not going to have an issue there. So I really, really do like him. And I can see him playing more as a last line of defense in those kind of situations. So I think for Will Johnson's probably confirmed that his hips, there's obviously something wrong because at 6'2", and 200, I think he was.
Yeah, 195.
194, very stereotypical. But last year he had shoulder injury, turf toe, had hamstring for his pro day.
Too banged up.
Yeah, I think he had hips. I swear I saw something. I didn't have it in my notes, but I swear I saw something about his hips. So there's obviously some question marks about his health for him to slide as far as he's done.
Well, just a couple of random things that I've noticed throughout the evening. Heston was one of the first guys to dap up every single player that was in the room as soon as they got their selection. Now, it might not translate to anything on the football field, but that's the kind of stuff that locker rooms really thrive off. You want a good, bubbly person, and he looked genuinely excited for every single person that walked by him. And so that's the sort of stuff that, at least watching these nights, you get a bit of an insight into.
Yeah. And you can't go wrong with speed.
Nah.
In the back end,
especially not at corner. You know,
Yeah.
we were kind of talking before about how it doesn't always translate with at receiver. I think generally speaking at corner, it translates pretty well.
If you can just get in the way.
Yeah, recovery speed is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like if you can close gaps that are in the separation, that does you a world of good. So, yes, he might be a little bit smaller for a traditional sort of corner size, but I think he's going to do a really good job for the Bills there. They'll be very happy with that.
He came dressed for the occasion, matching
looks sharp,
blue.
eh?
Blue, yep.
All right, we've got 2 picks left. The Super Bowl
Did
team.
they flip picks?
Yeah, good question.
Because it's the other way around on the screen there now. It says next is Philly and then KC,
Let me refresh here. Let's see if they've done a little late trade.
which would be odd to flip picks, but unless
Unless Wikipedia's not up to
trade.
date. Yep. Okay. So,
for a 5th rounder, they've switched spots. So
Okay.
the Eagles have come up 1 because they're worried that someone was going to trade ahead of them. So they've done the deal so Kansas City didn't trade to someone else potentially. So what does Philly want?
I've got their depth chart here.
What did I say?
let me
Anything
bring it up.
defense?
Yeah, anything Georgia defense.
Yeah, Georgia defense was the running joke.
I had Campbell here, best player available. So maybe Campbell makes sense for their linebackers.
I don't think so. Zach Bourne and N'Kobe Dean were
Very good.
very, very good. Yeah. What about Reed Blankenship's pretty good. Tristan McCollum's their other safety.
Yeah, safety. Again,
Nick Emenwari, who's still on that
Still on the
board.
board.
You know,
Yep.
athletic freak.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind that if I was an Eagles fan. They could just take another edge pass rusher. Who's got Mike Green still there.
What would you trade up for? Maybe it's Simmons because they could potentially add a offensive tackle to sit a year.
Yeah, sit behind Lane Johnson for a
Johnson,
year.
They
Case
just lost
Lanes.
Mackay Becton.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
needed to fill in he plays guard though.
Yeah, but you can pick Simmons and move him inside. Simmons is big enough.
Yep.
Marcus M. Bale was another one. He was kind of floating around. It'd be interesting to see what they're interested in.
So this is what you're talking about, the trade. It's not just because they think that the Chiefs would pick who they want. It's that the Chiefs would trade away the pick
to someone that's
someone
gonna,
else.
Yeah.
which would steal the
There's
guy.
so
they
much
were
chess
after.
going on.
Yeah.
So someone maybe actually take Houston, for example, who do want offensive line talent, could potentially try to jump over Eagles here. So, yeah, that's making me lean even further towards a offensive line, a tackle. And Simmons is
Josh Simmons
the highest one I got left, I think, in that position.
by a long way.
Yeah.
And not a lot for the Chiefs to give up to get an extra fifth. Was it 5th rounder that they got?
Yep.
That's a dice roll.
Yep. So Simmons is my last one for left tackles.
But if
and
that
Bale was
might
my-
that might lead you to believe that the Chiefs are going to go O-line then if the
I agree. Yeah,
if they're jumping back just one.
or they've told them, hey, this is a guy we're taking. It's like, cool, we will take the other dude, but we've had calls about X, Y, and Z. So these last 2 picks will be interesting to finish up. Did Hughes?
What were you going to say?
Just looking at, we still got Cleveland. I just wonder how Houston got into there, but into that second
For
spot.
the start of tomorrow.
Yeah. Who'd they trade? They traded with. Who'd they trade out with? Giants. Yeah, it's a Giants pick. That makes sense. Don't worry.
Now, with all of the rounds, so there's 7 rounds in the draft, how many starters are you looking to get for your team out of the draft? Because some of these draft picks, even in the first round, are going to be complete busts.
Well,
it depends on where you are.
You kind of think your first and second round, you want starters. 3 and 4, you want guys potentially to be starters, like early contributors. And then 4, 5, 6, and what am I up to? 5, 6, and 7 is more they're special teams. They're guys that we think have a role. We think they might have a future, but they need to growth. That's kind of how it works.
So 2 starters, 2
guys
roster spots, and
they're
then
going to
others that are
contribute
fill-ins.
early, and then the others is like I need to make up spots, and I need guys to play special teams.
It's dependent on where you are, though. If you're the Eagles, you might not need 2 starters, whereas if you're the Titans, Jags, Giants, you might need 4 starters.
Well, like we'll take the Eagles, for example. They're like, well, we don't need that many starters. We don't need that 5th round pick. We'll get rid of that.
Yep.
And to make sure we get the guy that we're really after.
Yeah. It's just interesting that what might go into the thought process of the draft selecting squads or the GMs of each of the teams.
Yeah, it really depends, and also depends on the draft. Like this class is probably a bit more light on than talent than last year's one. So you might go, hey, I want to offset some of this and actually focus more on next year, and you get more free agents this year, and then you kind of work out the method of how you get players in, and then you might be like, oh, well, I think the undrafted class is going to be better, so I'll try to score some more guys that we know that aren't going to get drafted, and you work at it. There's many ways to build your roster essentially.
I can't imagine the nightmares that the GMs must have every single night trying to play out every single
scenario.
Oh, goodness me.
That's why they have all the scouts, they have all the different rooms and all the stuff. Yeah.
Because it's a lot of pressure because these are sort of like career defining picks, like every single choice.
Yep.
Not just for you, but for like many other people in the organization. If you stuff up your job.
Yeah, it's a team.
Yeah.
It's a team. All right, Roger is up there. The 31st pick is for the Eagles. It's Jihad Campbell. Okay.
There you go. And you said they wouldn't pick a line.
So he's going to have to go make friends with some dog boys. So Jihad Campbell comes over from Alabama. Sean's bringing up his profile here. Pretty speedy inside linebacker. What can you tell us about Jihad Campbell?
Yeah, well, I think that's the issue is he's seen more, well, not an issue. He's seen more as a traditional inside linebacker, so that's probably why he's slid-ish down to the end here. They have Dean there, but Dean's probably a little bit undersized for the position, but I think they just want more good talent in that back 7. They play more of a 3-4, so I think that works. So he's 6'3", 235, great size, ran a 4.52, which is excellent for inside linebacker. Did a broad of 10.7. 1.5 years sort of a starter. He had 5 sacks last year. Let me get his notes up.
I didn't think they were going to go inside linebacker, given that they had Bourne and Dean and also Jeremiah Trotter Jr. So their linebacker room is going to be probably the best in the NFL.
They had 9.87 on the RAS, so pretty good overall athlete at that size for a linebacker. He could potentially add 10 pounds. Added 235. Yeah, 235 there. So he probably could get into the 240-ish range. Played inside linebacker mostly with some outside linebacker. Looks to have enough lateral quickness. I think he's decisive and taxable. Looks like a strong tackler, wraps well and doesn't miss. I would want him to be more strongly getting off blocks in the run game. Too many plays he gets hooked up, and can't disengage with a guard, which again leads to me maybe he needs a little bit more size to be a bit more powerful for those sort of to be more effective in the run game. But as maybe like a weak side inside linebacker in that Eagles scheme or might be where he fits, but he's explosive. When he's got a clear path to the ball carrier, he's got a nose for it, and he absolutely goes like ham. His blitzes, his delays are great. He looks dangerous when he pins his ears back and goes after the quarterback. Looks solid enough in coverage for tight ends. But overall, to me, he looks like a raw prospect that needs a bit of growth and a bit of experience. I did say a team may try to convert him to an edge pass rusher, but I've seen that kind of with that athletic profile, and he definitely has the ability to get after the quarterback. But we'll see whether he moves more inside, and that means Dean's playing more of a role. Whether he's more like your rundown guy, and then you get a guy maybe slightly more moves around a bit like in Dean. But yeah, I think they'll be happy with him there.
The Eagles are going to be hard to beat, not just this season, but probably for the next 3 or 4, given how well they've drafted, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. All those guys are young. Well,
I think I said it, take the best player available, and Campbell was by far the highest on the left for where he was kind of ranked.
I mean, there were just no weaknesses on the team as it is. Like at every level, it's like, got studs on the team. Their draft class of last year were some of their stars in the playoffs.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper getting Mitchell and DeJean in the same draft class just fixed their secondary instantly. It was so good.
Let me bring up the 2024 Eagles draft class because they had instant impact.
Yeah, straight away. But it was from early on in the season as well. Was
Carter last year as well?
I think the year before.
Jalen Carter.
Carter was the year before. So
Quinion Mitchell was first round. Cooper DeJean second round. And then Will Shipley, he played a role. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. played a role.
They've obviously been interested in linebackers because they added Dean the year before. Added Trotter now. So they're obviously looking to improve that room, and Campbell's by far the highest pick they've made in that.
It was really their secondary that they instantly kind of fixed up with.
First 2 picks.
Yeah, Mitchell and DeJean.
Yep.
Gerard Campbell on the mic there in Green Bay. And we turn our attention to the last pick of the first round. After nearly 4 hours of podcasting.
We could nearly put a house bet on this. Simmons.
Yeah, you reckon O-line here?
Yeah.
You got one more house? Quadruple or nothing?
Yeah.
I'm also thinking trade. No pick
is in.
Quick like that. I reckon.
Put a line through. I was just thinking because it's the one spot there. Cleveland's worried about someone skipping them for, say, Sanders. They could just, again, flip that with KC, considering they already have another second, and get their guy. But obviously they're not worried. They'll get the first pick tomorrow, and Sanders not going to go in the first round. I doubt. I don't think Kansas City are going to take him.
I don't think he's going. So 2 quarterbacks we see. Obviously Cam Ward, everyone had going early, if not first. And then the interesting trade up from the Giants to get their man Jackson Dart. We saw 2 running backs in Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton.
Yep.
We saw a bunch of offensive linemen.
Lots of line.
A bunch of interior defensive line and edge rushers. And that pick is Josh Simmons. Well done. Your house comes back and several more. So the final pick of the first round, Andy Reid, they're in the Kansas City war room. They sturdy up that offensive line to protect Patrick Mahomes. Josh Simmons, Ohio State. What can you tell us about him, Shauna?
Yeah, so 6'5", or just a touch under. He was 312 or 317. I'm just trying to confirm which way he went.
312 you've got listed.
It's a 312 at his pro day. So he lost weight from the combine of about 5 pounds. 33-inch arms is probably more than serviceable. Did put 34 reps on the bench at his pro day. So you take that. 3-year starter at left tackle, 2 for Ohio State and 1 for San Diego. So he's been rehabbing a knee injury. So he had torn patella tendon.
Oh, did he? That's a bad injury to have.
So as a left tackle, another solid frame. He's a bit more up top again. And I think he's a bit more complete than... I said Banks. Why have I got Banks there? Much more physical than the previous 2 tackles. Fires out of his stance and wants to finish blocks. Very impactful in the run game. Surprisingly nimble, gets around well in a hurry to make a block. I think his kick step is good, feet look good, and his hands are nice. His anchor in his pass pro, I think, needs work as he gets driven back more than I'd like, but it should be correctable. better run blocker than pass. I think this is a technique, though. And, of course, there's the issue with the knee rehab, and we'll see how that all falls out, which is probably why he's maybe a little bit available here at the end. But if they're happy with how his knee's going, should be all right. Which, interesting, we only talked about 2 guys having injuries in this first round. And I had notes on a bunch of other guys in the top 50 that had injuries. So it looks like anyone that had any sort of note of injury slipped. Yeah.
One of which was Will Johnson. We had him at 11 on our board. We'll keep an eye on it tomorrow to see when he goes. Mike Green, the edge. Obviously, the big talking point in not going in the first round, Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
Nick Emenwari, the safety. We had him as a really good athlete. He doesn't go. Luther Burden, the receiver. Both the Ohio State running backs, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, still available. The next best tight end in Mason Taylor, still available. And then a bunch of defensive talent still there on the board. Quarterback-wise, I suppose Sanders is the big one to watch early tomorrow. We've got two Browns picks. You reckon? Yeah,
Tyler's he's been talked about a bit, but he spent 7 years in college. So
7 years.
Yeah, he's a bit of an old
Van Wilder.
It's experience. It's experience.
Well, it's funny. He's 25, and we just looked it up before, and Trevor Lawrence is 25.
Crazy,
So,
huh?
yeah.
That's wild to me.
Yeah, but he has prototypical size. I think Jalen Monroe is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because I really, really like Jalen.
Yep.
And he has almost exact athletic profile as Hurts did.
Yep.
I think someone's going to be like, well, hey, he's just won the Super Bowl. Why don't we get someone that's like him?
Yep.
I think Hurts is probably a better passer, but Monroe's a better runner, but he's not Lamar Jackson type running.
So could Shedeur keep slipping?
There's a world.
So if
Potential.
there's
If
a
they
world-
don't like him.
if the Browns
Quinn
don't go
Ewers
for him,
pretty good too.
if the Browns don't go for him at 33, and this is subject to trades,
Yep.
Browns are the only one in the first little bit because the Texans have their QB, the Titans have theirs, Raiders maybe.
Raiders could,
Maybe.
and
Want someone?
then a few picks later the Saints
So you're already getting close to
to
the
40.
40.
Yeah, it's a long way for a guy that, like you said, consensus, 9 months ago might have been.
Yeah.
If he wasn't one, he was top 5.
This class kind of reminds me of Geno Smith's class, where Geno, I think, was the first taken, and he was taken in the second round because they just weren't valued as much. So
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often that we don't see lots of quarterbacks go. We saw 2. Better than the Geno Smith year from a quarterback perspective. Not as slim as the Kenny Pickett's year.
yeah, I agree.
Your teams?
Happy.
Broncos, Chargers, happy with picks?
Yeah, happy.
Yeah.
Defense gets better.
I was surprised with Matthew Golden as a Packers fan. We've done this podcast now on draft day for 4 years, 5 years, something like that. Plenty of those years I thought receiver might have gone. Didn't happen. Didn't think receiver was going to happen this year. It happens.
But now the Packers got a really interesting receiver core.
Yeah.
You could run 4 wide for a lot of the year and be fine.
I think in terms, and we said it before, no superstar, but in terms of having maybe the deepest receiver room in the NFL, I'd be pretty happy with that. Where AFC West and NFC North here in terms of who we're fans of, going to be very tight divisions, very tough divisions. Be interesting to see when Monks is back on the podcast, NFC South, and how he thought the Bucks and going one of my favourite wide receivers in the class in Emeka Ibuka. I think he's a great player. I thought the pick was a little interesting, but see what he can do down there in Tampa Bay. And then at the top end, a lot of the questions are going to be around Cam Ward, and there's a lot of pressure being the number 1 overall draft pick. Goes into a pretty ordinary situation there at Tennessee. Let's see how he goes.
Well, I think that what the Giants have done with Jackson Dart is a great option. Let him sit as long as he needs. Go back to a more traditional style of how they developed quarterbacks, because
We'll see how long he gets to sit. That's also the question. It is Giants, so
yeah, but it's just
surely he's not going through 2 of them next year.
I just think that
Strange
there's
things,
value.
one injury and one gets dropped.
There's just
He's on
value
screen
in
right now.
learning from an experienced player, and Russell Wilson is clearly a great mentor type figure.
It's very clear those two are going to be stop gaps going forward. So whoever wins that, it'll be interesting. I think going into the second round, there's plenty still available. I think the trenches, though, are probably pick clean at the moment.
Yeah.
Second round, I think we might have some corners. We'll have the rest of the pass rushers go, and then probably those quarterbacks and and some of those skill positions, running backs and wide receivers early, I think is where we're going to start for the second round.
Yeah, I reckon we see a fair few running backs go in this second round. I think we see both Ohio State.
I felt
State
a lot
boys.
of them felt like second round running backs to me. So yeah, I could see a lot of them going.
There's a world where we see four, where we see both Ohio State boys, Cam Scatterboo and Caleb Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah. Although Scatterboo is probably more of a third rounder.
Maybe Blue or someone like that might sneak in there.
Possibly.
There's lots of options for second round.
Receiver also a little thin in the first round this year after we've seen some pretty stacked receiver classes over the last few years. So, that's got to course correct you at some stage, you'd say. Obviously, the top end, Travis Hunter, we might have seen, a generational receiver just get drafted. Yep. It'll be interesting to see what the other guys can do in T-Mac and in Golden, we just mentioned. Luther Burden didn't get picked up today. I think he will go probably early in the second round. And then, Mason Taylor, that third tight end, we might see him go tomorrow. Thank you to anyone that has stuck through the whole time. Thank you to a couple in the comments. Monks, thanks for letting us use your house when you're on holiday. Hope everything's swell down there on the south coast of New South Wales. This is On the Esky. It's an Australian sports podcast. We do like our US sport. We are particularly big fans of the NFL. As you can tell, sitting around talking about it for the best part of 4 hours. Thank you, Chris, on my right, good mate of ours, has been on the podcast a long time ago, but returning from overseas, and very interesting comments at the start of the pod, saying that the best thing about being on cruise liners and going through these beautiful, island nations and mixing it up and having parties and hanging out with lots of fun people is just being in a nice time zone to watch American football. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it. It's going to be interesting to see how things go leading into the US summer and bring on the 2025 NFL season. On the Esky, bye for now. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See you.